Made it right on time. Oh yeah, that's right. I can do a. Where's it at? Should be here. So if I do that, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. All right, cool. Because I was listening to the other one the other day. I was going through, skimming through real quick. The volume was super low, so I'm like, all right, go ahead and fix that. I sounded extra nasally, which I'm like, hey, ain't that some shit? I don't know. Versus how I sound in my head versus how I sound in real life. It's like, god damn it. But I thought I'd start this off a little different. And going to the actual description that I can't view right now for some reason because I'm looking at the wrong thing. All right. So I guess one of the points I wanted to sort of bring it into, bring it in, huddle it, guys. Come on, get it here.
What's going on, bro?
Oh, I'm just doing an opening, I guess, dialogue now. But yeah, just the beginning, and I was have the slideshow going, so I'm talking about in the description, it is put that to basically put a summation of it, that the most important thing is your meaning and purpose, finding a meaning and purpose for your life.
Otherwise, why else do it? Otherwise, why else are you doing it?
Well, yeah, well, no, hold on, because that's technically not. I wouldn't go with that approach sometimes. In a sense, it would more go into. I basically put it into a sense of you want to analyze the value of things. Like we start off at a certain point with all these different things that are important to us, and what happens is we might get into a pattern, or we might want to get to a point, a sense of ease. It's easier to keep those things important instead of actually analyzing, because that's hard. Taking that analysis, that reflection, that really weighing things and taking an inventory and seeing what's actually important to you now, what actually means something, what actually has that value. Because everything doesn't keep the same value through time. That's not how it works for anything. And then
Oh,
ask yourself,
everything changes for sure. Like if you think that something that, and even just through depreciation or just entropy, like things change. So, yeah, things have to be constantly reassessed, reanalyzed at all times. There's no, yep, I've worked that out. That's done. Put that in a box, put that in the cupboard. Next thing. It's like, no, keep your eye on the ball, keep your hand on the ball, bro.
well, yeah. So my point with that is that it's important to again to analyze those things and ask yourself, especially when it comes down to the motivations behind your actions. Are you the one actually doing those things because you want to? Or are you taking some external input and then masking it as orders to thyself?
And are you aware of that? Are you doing that? Like, are you even aware that you are in that position where you feel compelled to do something when, you either, like I say, you're aware. Yeah, you see the point I'm making? Surely.
Yeah. Is there so
Yeah.
yeah, are you actually are you looking at what point is what is the motivation behind the action? Is it actually internal or is it external? Because there's a lot of guys, and I got one of these points because I was listening to TFM and he brought out the point, and this is and it's funny because this goes down to the nihilism thing, which I thought was funny because he pointed out that when they're calling, especially like someone like me, a nihilist, they're not saying that I don't believe in anything. What they're saying is I reject quote unquote traditional morality, which is supposed to be the overwhelming prevalent morality, Christian morality, the morality of the slave.
Well, perhaps. I don't know about Christian, but yeah, perhaps. I don't know if that's purely like the motor, the driving force there, but you're definitely not wrong,
So well,
in
yeah,
my opinion.
yeah, well, you got to think about it from their point of view. They may not be able to articulate it in that sense, but if you talk to them long enough, you'd eventually be able to pinpoint what they're actually saying. And what they're actually saying is that no, it's not that you don't have immorality or anything like that, because again, that's not possible. It's that you're not going along with what is deemed the acceptable morality. That you don't accept that.
Right.
You're rejecting the acceptable morality. Therefore, essentially, you're just calling you a bad person. That's it. You're a bad person, and you should stop that. You need to
Well, yeah,
understand.
it's hard. It's hard to have, like I said, a standards where everybody doesn't fall into the category of being a bad person in some way, shape, or form, or at some point in time. And
Yeah.
it's a bit of a douche move anyway, though, because I live by the belief, and I think most people should come to understand that there's no intrinsically good or bad. It's just, was that a decision that turned out to be bad or turned out to be good at the time, and what was your motivation? So, yeah, that's my opinion on that when it comes to being a bad person. It's like, we're back, hang on. I'm not the devil himself. I'm not the embodiment of evil. Hang on. But yeah, not to derail you.
No, it's fine. I was changing. I think the slideshow is going too fast. I don't have that many goddamn memes in there, but so
Bang, 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 bang. Keep up, motherfuckers.
yeah.
2022. Ain't got no time for your shit.
But no, so yeah, that shit right there with the whole lumping everybody. But you got to remember that's also part of that morality. That's part of slave morality. Is the evil and good, the black and white? There's no gray. There's
Labels.
an objective morality. All that shit. That's part of what they do, and it serves a tool. You got to think about it. So people, it doesn't matter if they're on autopilot, NPC, or whatever. People do what works. So
Yeah.
you got
Well,
so you
yeah,
got to
sure,
remember.
yeah.
So what you view as being effective to someone else is gonna be effective because again they're operating with different goals in mind and they have different
Yeah.
outcomes that they're after. So that's where it
Oh,
becomes
yeah.
yeah that's where it becomes one of those things where to analyze other people you have to step outside of yourself and you have to look at it and
And that's
sort of
hard for
yeah
most people, bro. Very hard because most people are looking at things going, well, that doesn't make sense to me because for me in my position, in my opinion, this is how I look at it, and nothing else makes any sense to me. So
yeah
that's a hard thing to get people to really understand as well. At that point, you kind of need to have some degree of an ability to, I guess, give a fuck about something else more than yourself so that you can understand that. Not so that you are a sucker to be used or fucking are a martyr, but so that you can understand it better.
That's funny that you brought that part up because a lot of people don't understand. So they would think that that means that you're more easily manipulable or more susceptible to manipulation, but it's actually the opposite. Because you actually have that different viewpoint, because you're able to view things from such different perspectives, you're able to see things from a lot more different angles. Your information that you have on a situation, your perspectives are a lot more open. So the
Yeah, and
fact you
it
shut
comes back to
down
the reason why, because a lot of people who are trying to be a better person, be nice people, are sort of doing what they're told to do about that, not knowing the reasons why you care about what other people think and feel. And they're sort of falling into the trap of fucking, I guess, doing the archetypal or fucking archetypical behavior, which then becomes a trap because your motivations for caring aren't the right ones, and so you sort of, I don't know, maybe I'm not articulating that right, but the what makes you a sucker for caring about other people is if you don't understand why you do it and you think it's just purely for the sake of caring about other people. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
because well,
That
one,
makes you a sucker.
well, because some people will actually go along and they think the altruism is true. They actually think it's real. Like they think that's the actual purpose behind all the neighborly and brotherly love. So that's what they go on, and they take a lot of the things that are supposed to be that are pushed forward as like encompassed by that, like the being trusting and all this other shit, not realizing that everybody else doesn't go by that. They don't go by that at all. So they say things, but that's not what they're doing, and that's why a lot
Yeah.
human communication is extremely complicated. Shit, just
Yep.
being a human and alive, because there's a lot of things that aren't said that you have to learn the hard way.
Oh yeah, hidden undertones and yeah, that's why it's important to understand what's not been said off, and that's the most important thing. And the reason why, when something's obvious, why someone doesn't say anything when it's obvious, it's like, well, that in itself is a very good point.
Well, that's also like I was thinking earlier when I got ripped off by this so-called mechanic, right? So I got
Ouch.
yeah, it was like $180, which isn't much.
That's not too bad. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
too bad.
but at the time, like even once I realized it, I'm like, well, that's fine because I just paid $180, but I just learned an extremely valuable fucking lesson.
Yep,
That's gonna save me so much money, time, and headache in the future. That yeah, I'm perfectly fine. Again, it's one of those things. It's the cost of knowledge.
yep,
Like again, like the young man who goes through with listening and taking the advice of people he trusts about how to be a good man and how to be a good person. And he takes that and he finds all this pain, all getting taken advantage of, manipulated. And so he casts that off, believing that he's pushing himself into a role outside of socially acceptable, all this other shit, that now he's on the outskirts of society and all this shit. When in reality, he just learned a lesson that everyone else had, that like the knowledge they had, but they just weren't telling him.
yep, yep. That's right. And a lot of times that's because that is setting that person up to be to be that sacrificial lamb. Um, and sometimes it can just be no motivation whatsoever, purely because people delight in watching other people suffer and learn the hard way, and they feel good going, well, I learned that way too, man. Well, you learned a valuable lesson today, and it's like, you fucking douchebag. You could have said something, but anyway.
Well, that actually that becomes a sort of like a situation in itself because are they going to listen? Are they going to
Yeah, and
believe?
that's another good point. Yeah, would you have listened at the time? Often that's why I don't say things to people later on. It's one of those things where I will say, "Well, look, I would have told you, man, but you wouldn't have listened. If anything, you would have probably laughed at me, thinking I'm a conspiracy theorist or fucking some weirdo or right winger or something." But depending on the situation, obviously. But given the world we live in, that's usually the context it's framed in. But yeah, that's a very good point too. So then it becomes a case of they're as bad as one another. The person that didn't say anything isn't saying anything for self protection. Yeah, it's
It's all right. I mean, I
take it
don't
from there. Take it.
I don't
Help me,
feel
brother.
bad. I don't feel bad about that shit ever. Because as far as I'm
Well, we
concerned,
kind of should collectively as a society, we kind of should to move forward in a direction that's a bit more of a positive world to live in than a negative one. But still, I don't disagree with what you're saying.
yeah,
But in a great,
actually,
yeah,
even if you put it that way, definitely don't feel fucking bad. I've got no control over other people and what they do or any of that shit. The only person I've got control over is myself. And that's limited to basically choices that I deem acceptable for my chances of survival. So yeah, it always goes
yeah,
down to limiting that scope. But as far as collective society, I don't see collective shit. I see the government. I see a bunch of welfare addicted dipshits,
yeah,
lazy, irresponsible, fucking mouth breathing retards.
yep.
And then I'm just here, just fucking stuck. So like, oh, that's a
You got to
negative
do
way.
what
Let's
you got
fix.
to do,
No,
especially if
yeah,
what you want to do is exactly what they want you to do, to quote South Park.
right. Well, no, they can go fuck themselves. Like that's the only thing I want a lot of guys not to be hard on themselves about. Like there's not much. Like, dude, you're limited. In fact, you gotta understand. And I like to put it in this way first. When you start right here at the bottom, the fact that you're alive right now, the fact that you made it to this point, is actually pretty amazing. When you start
I
analyzing
was,
how
I
easily
was
you can
saying that,
fucking die.
yeah. I was saying that last night to Sits. Yeah, that's one of the things that you kind of need to wake up and realize, man. Like, be proud and be amazed at the fact that given everything that's against you, you're still alive and you're doing okay. They don't have to be doing good, but you're doing okay, man. And like the odds are stacked against everyone in every man in our context, most specifically, if you narrow it down to fucking, I guess, well, I should be narrowing it down to the context of talking about men because that's why we're here and that's what we give a fuck about. I guess at the end of the day is the male perspective. But yeah, be proud and be grateful that fucking you're still here, and you've got a reason to get up, and you've got a reason to exist in yourself. You're getting up. You've got to look after yourself. You've got things that you want to strive for and achieve. And yeah, don't look any further than that, man, because when you start doing that, you start looking further and go, well, there's so many rich people out there doing better, and there's so many dudes that are bigger and buffed out there that are, and it's like, no, 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 no.
Yeah,
Wind it back, wind it
one
back.
thing that immediately would come to my mind, and I don't talk to many people because they have really thin skin. They always have this, "Who the fuck are you talking to?" Sort of, "You can't talk to me like this." But my thing is, if you're saying, like, honestly, like if I had like kids and I was actually talking to them, like he didn't, was like, and they were saying like what you just said, I'm like, what the fuck does any of that have to do with you? Like, think about it. What those motherfuckers have and what they've got going on? What's that got to do with you? Because in reality,
Yet you could get tied up in becoming a slave to serve that purpose for them. That's probably the only reason to give a fuck about it. Don't get caught up in it.
yeah, because that shit has nothing to do with you. Like
Yeah.
again, like if you want to take look at it in a realistic perspective, it's like, all right, so oh yeah, in fact, like there's one dude who's at one of the gyms I go to, right? Dude is just like it's like his health, you can tell. Like I'm seeing looking at the workouts he's doing. He's got like on a weighted vest type deal with some other shit. So I'm like, he's got to be hot as hell right now. Like holy shit.
Yeah.
But he's just going.
Yeah.
He's just going. And I'm like, man, that I would not do that. I'm sorry. I'll go here and I'll do my workouts and I'll like be all tired and shit and do my run and leave. And I'm like, I guarantee he's like probably like some fucking personal trainer or some shit, and he's got
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, unless he's got a reason to push things really far to
yeah,
succeed higher and above other people in that same field, it's like, what are you doing? Just be realistic, have
yeah.
realistic goals,
But
and
my point
it,
is, I don't
yeah,
look at him and envy that. I'm like, oh look, he's
yeah,
working really hard at that. Whatever like the cost that you have to pay to be that dude, he's doing that
yeah.
because that's what he
But
wants to do.
he'll need you to be envious of that to get validation now, and that's the type of people they are.
Oh, I don't give a fuck what he needs because I'm not giving it to him. I'm not doing it. Like there's one, I forgot who the quote was by, but they basically pointed out the person that could anger you is your master. Which you can't take that to like the complete degree, but what you can look at is basically, and I've talked about, like everybody's been talking about this, like the whole manosphere. Well, I'll say our demographic of the no, not demographic, our slice of the manosphere.
Yeah, fucking yours. I ain't fucking mine. Nah,
Yeah,
go
I
on.
don't like. Yeah, I don't like when you talk about those other like the other people that call themselves like in the manosphere, whatever they're doing. Like I don't
Yeah,
know. I heard some shit.
identitarians.
Yeah, well, I don't know
But
what they
anyway,
hear.
go on.
But no, the whole point is that you're not supposed to give somebody the keys to you. So if they're able to alter your emotional state with just their words, like just their words, just their words, what they're saying to you, they alter your emotional state. So now that at that point they're in the driver's seat of you. They're able to manipulate you just full force. There's a lot of guys that women have that control over them 100%, and
Oh yeah,
they're not
definitely.
aware of that at all. They don't pay attention to it. As far as they're concerned, they're just on autopilot. That's normal. That's how you're supposed to be, and that's just what they do.
Yep.
And I look at that, and people like that I can't be around. I don't want to be around you because
Yep.
you're basically just a dumb animal to me. That's what I'm sorry. That's how I look at it. You're just a stupid ass animal, and you're like, it's that situation where I'm not advocating anything, but I'm just pointing out, like when you're around an animal and it starts fucking shit up and breaking shit and stuff, it's like, hey, I probably got to put you down before you, because you're gonna hurt other people. You're gonna do all this damage, all this shit. You know what I mean? Because if that's how you react, and then again, these are the same people. So that person, because they're going along with what society is acceptable, because they're very manipulable, gullible, manipulatable.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, they're very accepted. They're going to be way
Yep.
more accepted than anybody who's very self-aware and in control. But the thing
Yep.
is, here's the other side of that. They're also the same motherfucker gets cheated on, blows that bitch's head off, and somebody else's in his. So I'm like, so you're not gonna
Yeah.
acknowledge, but you're not. You're just gonna. So we want to pay attention to one end of that, but we don't want to pay attention to the other. We want to just leave that part
Right.
alone. I'm
Yep.
like, so you
Yeah.
basically spend this time cultivating this emotional time bomb because it's so easy to control now, and then later on. But see, at the same time, I've got to looking at it from my perspective. Let me change it up. So from there, it's just a win-win for them because both angles can be played to
Well, there's
benefit.
nothing to lose. Yeah, well, there's nothing to lose as well. That's the other side of it. It's just one of those things that's disposable. We
Yeah.
talk about disposability all the time. It's a throwaway situation, a throwaway emotional connection, and it's like, well, yeah, if they win, they win, and if they lose, they lose. There's nothing gained or lost. Well, there is something that can be gained, but there's definitely something that if it doesn't play out a certain way, it's no skin off their back, and
Well,
so it really is a really an unimportant situation when you understand like it from that perspective. And to care about it, given that context, would be pointless.
no, that's what I always think is funny when you see those articles and everything, and they're acting like this woman's gonna be lost or something like that. And I'm like, they don't give a fuck. Are you guys retarded? They're just saying that shit because they know that you're gonna go along with it, but they don't fucking care. They
Yeah,
understand
that's right. Well, they've got the
liability.
government to fall back on.
Yeah, of course.
And other simps, and like there's just so many safety nets there. It's just like, yeah, well, I don't know why you bother caring, bro. Like your option 375, and they've got another 1,000 on top of that, and
Well, yeah, I
yeah.
was seeing something, and I think it was in the replicant fish video, and one of the guy, he was playing a
Oh,
clip.
he's still around. Oh, good on
Yeah,
him.
replicant fish. I think his videos are entertaining. He shows like he shows shit that we'll never see. I don't watch TikTok or any of that shit. I'll never see what
Ooh,
those normie.
ooh,
I don't have conversation with normies on a regular daily basis. I don't give a fuck what they're talking about it. So somebody who's actually putting that and splicing that together in like little clips and shit and having his own
good on
commentary.
him.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I could watch like a little 10-minute video of that. I don't want anything longer than that though. I
Well,
don't want.
that's like what's his name, Monk, who used to put all those videos together too. And it's like, I appreciate you doing that, bro, because I'll be fucked if I'm wasting my time watching that shit.
Yeah, yeah. But what the guy was pointing out, and this is funny because I remember back when I was like blue pill as shit talking about this, and it was like, hey, if there's more women than men, why the fuck would it matter? Like, doesn't that mean that there's no reason to care about that shit? Like, there's no reason to care about these bitches. So you would think that when you just look at it on a surface level type shit, you'd have to look at like a lot of the, like get into a lot of the details on the environment on why it would still be in the dynamic it is. Well, one, there's natural reasons, and two, there's some artificial reasons as well.
Right, right,
And so,
right.
but no, his line of thinking made perfect sense because what he was going towards was the understanding as where the value lies. And if you pay attention, even in a situation where you're throwing all the disadvantages at dudes, it still shows where the value actually is. And it's not in the liability, it's in the actual producer. It's the one who can create value and invest. Like, think about it. A man invests in themselves, he becomes more valuable and is able to bring value to the things that he interacts with. A woman, on the other hand, only takes value because they're dependent. That's literally how that works.
Yeah.
And so the
Yep.
analysis of that, but here's the thing, that's going to get completely rejected because the analysis of that, one, now at this point you're self-aware, and there's a lot of systems that work on male devaluation. They need that to happen for them to benefit. So the
Yep.
fact of that one won't be, and also you got to remember, so male competition in itself, all this simping because of the government and because of women's artificially inflated value, you're kind of left out to where essentially, let me put it in a different way. So because majority of men can't compete with the government, they can't offer that deal, and they're left basically just out of mating.
Hmm.
They're not going to acknowledge that at all for the thought of if they do have a chance, their chance being eliminated for going along with that line of thinking. So it's like how you pointed out before, where a guy will say, "You're just saying that so I don't try, so that way you have a better chance." Like that type of stupid shit. But
Yeah. Yeah, and it is somewhat of a delusion because it is some way of trying to, I guess, convince themselves of their value. and they're trying to value themselves a lot higher than what they are in that situation, in that context. And it's like, nah, man, like plenty of other ways that you're more valuable, plenty of other ways in which, you can have value. But in that situation, like you're kidding yourself if you think that this is the 1950s and without you, they're going to die and your kids are going to starve or whatever. Like you're kidding
Yeah.
yourself.
In fact, that's part of the environment, not understanding the environment and what happened. In that, yeah, women they don't actually need you. They have the government, which is the collective of men. And so a lot of guys, I hear them, and I get it. And they're like, yeah, when the government runs out of money and all this shit. And I'm like, it'd be nice if that happened all at once,
Uh,
but it
uh,
doesn't happen all at once.
Well, it'll happen in a way that, like, I can assure you, they'll have they'll mitigate or they'll have that risk already managed. They already know this, man. Like, you can't tell me that people who are social engineers, admittedly, are going to go, oh, whoops, we dropped the ball on that one. I guess the government's lost all its power. Oops, a daisy. No,
Yeah,
it's not gonna happen.
no, it's not
Well, I
gonna
guess
work.
it's hockey mask time. Shit, what did we do? Oh no, no, it's no.
I'm sorry, that was actually. I could see them doing. I
Well,
could see them saying that facetiously, though.
yeah, well, that's why I get the shits, and I'm glad you appreciate the fact that's funny because it's not funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Well, no, but one thing that people with power really try to specialize at is keeping power. They really try to make sure they do their homework on that shit.
yeah.
So it's not going to be. That's why again, it's better to have a more realistic view of things, and everybody. So one thing is, it's not a good idea to get addicted to sort of like those pleasures of happy thoughts and all that shit because it's not going to benefit you in the long run. Because I don't know.
No, no, it's a good escape for now, but I mean, it's not going to yield anything. And if anything, like you're probably better off utilizing that time preparing for the oncoming problems and issues that you're going to have to face.
Yeah, 100%. Like man, I don't know. I've been looking around and I'm like, why are so many people so fucking unhealthy? I don't know, but it comes to a point where
Miserable, man. They're miserable.
yeah, I was actually
Yeah,
about
I
to
thought about that too.
yeah, I was gonna go into that. So a lot of people think
Mm.
your physical health is just like, oh, if I just force myself that no, that's not how it's gonna work. It's a lot of it. In fact, you gotta remember, so before you do anything, I mean anything, before you get out of bed, it starts upstairs. It starts in your mind. And your mood, how you feel about things, your perception of reality is. I mean, think about those actual serious cases, not like some retarded transgender like haired
Ew.
demisexual woman on like a with an article on some shit. I'm talking about actual legit people who like something crushes them so fucking bad and they can't get up. They can't do anything.
And
And
often that's because men are such powerful simps. That's usually the relationship between them and a woman. Usually.
well, yeah, man. What I'm talking about the aspect of is so it starts mentally. So physically, they're perfectly fucking fine, but their mental state is so fucking damaged that eventually it just goes downhill to the point where they're not even getting the fuck out of bed.
Yep. Yep.
So it's important to protect your mind. It's important to invest in your mental health. And one thing I noticed, because I've been looking at some of this social media shit, there's nothing there.
No, it's empty. It's vacuous. It's designed to just waste your time and, if anything, make you pissed off and angry and make you fight with other and argue with other people. Sometimes
Yeah,
people are on there just for attention, bro, and like you fighting and arguing and getting pissed off. That's kind of the intent.
yeah, because what I noticed is there isn't anything, and there has to be something to this whole thing of where they have these little algorithms and shit to try to just keep and waste your time. And yeah, so I started noticing, I'm like, huh, One, huge waste of time. Two, even if you try to look for things of valuable information, that's not how it's presented to you.
Yeah.
So it's a complete waste of time. There's no benefit in it. Now, as far as a tool for communication, sure, I guess. But you got to remember, humans are just masters at it. Doesn't matter what the fuck you made it for, it's got to be
Oh,
used for something else.
and you got to understand too, in my opinion, the government sees that and they want to make sure that they're controlling that conversation and they are witnessing and understanding where the conversation's going. Same with corporations, they want to know where it's going. Um, out of fear of losing control. So it's always going to be something that they're going to come along and go, right, well, Elon, don't let fucking, bad example, but still an example nonetheless, don't let this Alex Jones dude back on. Like, because they're like, yeah, like we don't like the losing control of narratives and we don't like there being people wanting to discuss alternative narratives to things. And so that'll always be an issue with social media too. It'll always be something that those people who stand to lose from people openly and freely discussing and arguing over things and coming to conclusions and working shit out, they're always going to be in that. They're always going to derail that. They're always going to control that. So yeah, that's my take on social media is be very fucking wary of the fact that whatever positive aspect you can take from it, there's going to be people that are in positions of power that go, well, let's shut that down.
Yes.
Let's make and don't make it obvious that we're shutting it down.
Yes. And so honestly, if it came because anybody, well, some of our small circle that we of people we know, they know that I don't pay attention to shit. I don't pay attention to movies, TV, social media, anything. And so peeking my head out sometimes, I'm like, hey, let me like that's why I make jokes about me being autistic. It's because to somebody, because again, they throw autistic at anybody and anyone, they don't care. And to something like if you're not going along with shit,
On the spectrum's usually the less pejorative term, the less demeaning term that they'll try to use, but in itself, it's still very patronising.
yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like that doesn't bother me. And right there, they're like, "Huh, I made an insult. He didn't even acknowledge it." Well, fucking autistic or some. I don't know what they call autistic people. I don't know what their derogatory term for that is. Doesn't matter.
Asperger's,
Yeah, yeah, you
Asperger's.
fucking aspie. I think that's the word. I don't know.
You
Maybe I'm just baiting them.
Asperg motherfucker.
Yeah,
I insulted you and you should be pissed off, but you're too dumb to know it.
and it's like, yeah, well, how about you chill out before I kill you with my retard strength then? It's like, it's like what? It's like you really need to play your cards right here. I'm just saying.
Got some bad news for you, man. They don't send retards to prison.
Holy shit! But no, yeah. So because again, you know how humans are. We're pretty much they find the patterns, they find this, they go along with that. You got to be normal, part of the group. You're not part of the group. Oh, we need to get you out the group. I feel uncomfortable. You're threatening my identity because you're not being part of the group. Da da da. All that stupid shit. But anyways,
Yeah.
so I don't pay attention to none of that shit, and so I peek my head out every once in a while. And one thing that, because again, in my life, I don't really. It's really easy when you're a grown ass man not to have many social interactions. It's like insanely easy. Yeah, like I mainly focus on just productive shit, and I don't know if you know that. For a lot of people, that means I'm really, really boring. They don't like talking to me because of the things I talk about. Because you normally talk about what you do in your life, like your day to day, all that type of stuff. That's what you're normally going to talk about. So if you were to have to talk to me, my day to day is going to consist of some really boring, productive shit. And I say productive, which is again in my mind is somewhat subjective still. But
Well, it's a bit of a reflection of how they look at the world too, man, is that it's looking at it in a very childlike perspective and that things are supposed to be there to entertain them and to be fun and stuff. And it's also a sense of, obviously gives away the fact that there's objectification there as well. There's dehumanization in that as well. And
well, that's actually
yeah.
I like how you put that like that because I didn't realize. I've always wondered how do people have all this fucking time to fuck around so much? Like holy shit, they just do this, and I'm just sitting here. Like, where the fuck are you finding this time? I know that's sounding crazy with me saying this, but you need to understand. I just sat the fuck down at I think 8:40 or something like that. Ate really quick and then just started doing this. So, and I
And
get
even in
pissed.
saying that, you probably only got so much time left up your sleeve to do this too.
Yeah, and so I'm
Yeah.
sitting here and they say all this shit and they're bitching about all this stuff, and I'm like, hey, there's not a lot of time like on a like especially on a weekday you go to work and I'm like a work out, find time to study, like eat, make sure shit isn't like burning down or broken or anything like that, and, like clean and shit like that, and then sleep. And I'm like, yeah, so you don't have that much time in a day, but yet these motherfuckers find all this time for all this entertainment and fun shit. And I'm like, holy shit. And here's dumbass me. I'm like, man, you know what? They just must not be sleeping. That's what it is. They are not
Well, yeah,
sleeping.
no, that is true, bro. That's where I tend to find time up my sleeve to be able to enjoy things that fucking I know I don't have time for. It's just like, well, guess I'm going with 4 hours worth of sleep today if I want to make time for this, and you just
That's
got to
not.
kind
But
of
my
live.
my point I was getting to is that's not what they're doing at all. So
No,
they're
well,
basically fucking
yeah.
their time off and not sleeping so they can spend their time fucking off more. It's all about basically indulging in essentially hedonism. So it's just pure consumption to the point of feeling good, and basically they essentially are reinforcing their own misery. And it's weird because you
Well,
think
it's
they'd
it's
be.
designed to make people feel compelled. Like that's why, like games, in my opinion, like the reason they've become such a big thing, and the government hasn't cracked down on them in some way, they're still allowed to be a thing, is because there is a lot of people who will pour their entire lives into them. They'll pour too much time, too much energy into these types of things, and unfortunately, as much as I do enjoy them and I partake in them and stuff like that, I have to understand that it's like, yeah, these aren't things that are meant to be normal, part of a normal functioning routine and life. And there's a price to pay to have them in your life. And most people are in denial of that price.
Oh no,
Most people,
because I can have my
or
cake and eat
don't
it
know it.
too,
Yeah, yeah.
which you
Have
can't.
it both ways.
So like, because one thing, it's like, all right. So when it comes down to, because there was a person I was talking to, I think a couple weeks ago. I can't remember when. And so I'm not going to get into the details about the conversation, any specifics, but essentially it was about um, looking for a job, qualifications, stuff like that. And one thing that I noticed of how they spent a lot of their time, because again they were telling me, and it was seemed a lot leisurely. And so, because I noticed that some young people, they fall back on that they have a degree and they think that that's enough, but they don't understand that that's not how. Like, there's people in like their 40s who complained. I've heard them complaining in person where like they get the degree, but then they realize that's not enough. They have to do all this other extra shit, and then you have to what they're not really complaining, they're basically stating what they found out through when they were younger, is that what you're doing is you're constantly building up on your skills and you're making yourself more valuable, and you're essentially, it's like if you learn how to do something 10 years ago but you never really practice it, do you actually know how to do it?
Oh, yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it, man. I've learnt that a lot. Like when it comes to other jobs I've had, for example, I've been a tire fitter doing tires and stuff like that with, trucks, tractors, farm equipment and implements and shit like that. And some of it comes back to you easy enough, like doing a small vehicle, small passenger vehicle, that's easy enough. But if you haven't like been out and done this within a couple of years, you're going to lose your touch. You're going to lose your feel, like your muscle memory that you relied on so heavily because you refined it over such a long period, or so just repetitive amounts of the same work. Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it, and it's very easy. It's a very easy trap to fall into of thinking, oh yeah, 10 years ago I used to do this. This is easy enough. But you'll find very quickly, oh shit, this is a lot fucking harder than I thought it was. This is almost like starting again, except I don't have someone to give me advice on how to start learning it. I'm teaching myself how to start again as my own advisor, knowing how it's supposed to be, but in practice ain't working that way. If you know what I mean. So that's something I personally experienced and just went, oh shit, yeah, this is not going to be something I can just pick up where I started from 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's hard for people to really acknowledge that and really come to terms with the fact that if there's well no I'm not going to say people because this is something that it's not that everybody can't understand this isn't hard to understand. When there are things you want in life, you have to give up other things to get them. That's it. So there's I just got a dumbass notification about I'm gonna mute this for a while so I can stop being distracted by that. All right,
Yeah, I'm
there we
getting
go.
distracted by a game too. Anyway, what were you
No,
saying?
I was yeah, it was something else, but
Yep.
no, you have to give up shit. So like when I'm studying for something like seriously, like right now I'm technically not really. I'm sort of catching up on some other shit and then I'm probably going to be moving on to this other shit, but honestly, a good part of me is like, "Hey, I'm really trying to get to a point of mentally chilling the fuck out because it's one of those
Yep.
things where it's like, hey, everything's going to hell around me, but then it's like, hey, ask yourself right in this moment. And I think I heard Messenger talking like this when he was on a stream with I think Element and Shining. And it's ask yourself right now in your personal day to day life, how bad is it? And then it's like, shit, yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like a
Be
retard.
honest.
Yeah, yeah,
Be honest. Yeah.
yeah, you kind of like, oh, I feel kind of retarded right now. It's like, yeah, you should. Instead of focusing on all that shit that you can't do anything about, focus on what you can. Focus on keeping your mental health straight, your physical health straight, and also keep working whatever it is you're working. Yeah, you can adjust a little bit because you have new information, but at the same time, ask yourself realistically, what the fuck are you really going to change that much? What can you really expect to do?
Hmm.
And then that should
And
give
what
you
can you do with your time? What can you do with
yep.
your time that is going to be, productive in getting what you want? In understanding that the inadequacies or whatever it is that you'll just had that fucking rude shock, that rude awakening, and realizing what can you do with your time to do something about that.
Yes. So yeah, that's just it's one of those things where you sit back and you really start, just really ask yourself a lot of those a lot of those fucking questions. This is where it pisses me off. A lot of people don't really sit back and ask themselves these questions. Probably because they're always trying to distract themselves with someone or something else. Instead, honestly, the main person that you should be worried about really getting extreme detailed, intimate knowledge of is yourself. Like that in reality, in the real world. Take away all the internet, all this other shit, and anything. When it comes down to who you have to depend on when shit really gets rough, it's that motherfucker you've been spending your whole life with this whole time.
You.
That's who's gonna matter. That's who's gonna
Yeah.
bail you out of some shit. That's who's gonna be there
Yes.
to save your fucking life if it's possible to be saved. Because there's some situations you just probably gonna die.
Well,
But
I often have like a fairly high bar when it comes to giving an analogy and to give some perspective on that. And the analogy I use is like just imagine, are you the type of guy that if you're dropped off on an island in the middle of nowhere by yourself, do you even know like what your priorities are going to be and what your course of action is going to be, whether or not you know how to obtain that, or do you even know what you need to do next? And then once you've done that, do you know what should be after that? And like, are you going to look around for people? Are you the sort of person that in your life you would have somebody there to hold you up? Would you have somebody there to take care of those things so you don't have to think, let alone actually do something? So yeah, that's what I often use is if you're in the middle of nowhere on an island by yourself, man, do you even fucking know what you got to do? Do you know what your plan of attack is? Do you have an idea of your priorities? And life is kind of like that, man. Like, because all this other shit is really just irrelevant shit that doesn't mean a hell of a lot, man. Like, a nice house, nice car, property, investment, portfolio, fucking blah, 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 blah. All that other stuff, yeah, all well and true. We live in a world where that is stuff that's a thing. But have you got those priorities? Do you know how to create priorities? Yeah. I don't know. That's just how I kind of look at it anyway.
well, no, it's true. because a lot of it is designed to sort of distract you with bullshit. It's essentially so you do get your so you enslave yourself. That's really the goal. So because you got to ask yourself. So like I was asking myself this other I think the other month, early this year or something like that. And I was thinking about some of the skills I had and stuff I could do, and I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool, but I'm thinking some of those I really need to brush up on a lot of shit. Like, yeah, all that tech shit is cool, cool. You can use a keyboard, but how are you with these power tools? How are you if you don't have any fucking power tools? How are you gonna do with just some tools? Can you figure some shit out? How are you about thinking on your feet and adapting?
Or are you going to be a guy that unfortunately is in a situation that, for whatever reason, is going to have to then go, well, I can't do that mechanical work on my car. I've got to pay a mechanic to do it. And is he going to rip me off knowing that I have to go to him? And I,
Yeah.
not
Well,
saying that you should know what you're doing with the car. I just thought that was a good example based on what you were talking about before, getting ripped
no,
off.
no,
Is
that's an assessment. So ask yourself, like, if you live, like, especially if you don't live like anywhere near a city, mechanic skills are going to be something you don't have a choice of not to do.
yeah, but
Like,
don't put yourself in
or
a
you better be
position where
best
you have
friends, or you better be best friends with somebody who lives close by who is one.
that you can trust, because like, yeah, you got to understand that if people know, this is why they like to target and rip off women as a stigma, and it is a thing but not quite as prevalent as what they make out. But still, is that those people that if they know that you don't have a much of an idea of what's going on and what needs to be fixed and how much it should vaguely cost, like, you're kind of going to be screwed. You're going to get screwed over if you have no choice. And some people are in that position because you can't know everything, bro. Yeah, unfortunately, which is kind of going to suck. But you got to have priorities. It's like, well, you don't need to know about motorbikes. You don't need to know about, building and construction, but you can kind of like look up and go, well, I can look up and work out how much the part costs, and then maybe have a look on YouTube and see how complicated the job is. And then when I go in there and they start spinning shit, going, oh yeah, it took forever, man. It was a big job, and fucking, we spent 4 hours labor on it, man, and we thought it was going to be a lot easier. So it's a bit dearer than what we quoted, but we got it done. And so, just as an example, based on what you were saying before, maybe perhaps I'm being a little bit too personal with what I'm bringing up here, and it might feel like I'm making you feel like, oh shit, he's right. Oh fuck, I feel like a bit of an idiot or whatever. But I just thought that was, based on what you're talking about before, a good example of when you're in a position where you have to trust and rely on other people. Is it fair to say, or you feel like you're being a bit of a douche, man? Don't talk about my shit.
No, that's fine. No, that's cool. But yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's basically we just did a long way of saying it's complicated.
We did
So
a Tim Pool.
I've never watched the Tim Pool video, so I've watched
Oh,
like
he
a
always says
little
it's
bit.
complicated, it's nuanced. He
No,
always
I don't.
says
All right,
it.
I'm not doing that one. I'm just saying that there's a lot to it because a
Yeah,
lot of
of
it's going to
course.
be based on the individual and the direct environment you find yourself in.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's some
definitely.
skills I don't really need to know, but I learn a little bit of shit every once in a while because you start analyzing more and more in your life on your needs and what's coming up on what you should know. Like getting rid of dead animals is something that I didn't think I needed to know all that much, but it's been coming up a lot. So I'm like, oh shit, all right, cool. Need to get the right
Dead,
proper
dead,
tools and handling
dead
stuff, and
animals a euphemism for something else I should know about?
I
Nah.
wouldn't tell anybody. Fuck that. So yeah, I think that was a sign. It's like, no, I would never give you a sign. You're really looking into that the wrong way. That's one rule of mine. I I don't see any reason to tell on yourself if you actually had something like to hide and shit. Like that's retarded.
Yeah, unless you're looking for attention, and then you set yourself up to fail. Like, yeah, it's weird how people do. Like they say, coppers say that most criminals often want to get caught, and I think, yeah, that's pretty true for a lot of them. And they kind of make it so that it's in a way where other people know.
Yeah.
No one should know. If you're a good criminal, no one should know.
Well,
How
that
come
lets you
people
know.
found it?
Well, no, you got to remember, so that they need the notoriety. They need the other criminals to know how good of a criminal they are, so they can know that they're the most dominant criminal. And
Social
also, how are the
status.
bitches gonna know that they're criminals? They need to know, because that's how they get to bitches.
I'm gangster, bitch. Let me give you 3 babies and fucking screw me over with child support, bitch. I'm gangster.
That actually, and then I remember seeing those articles. I think it was Tommy Sotomayor, and it was, I guess the dude was a gangbanger. Chick got a kid out of him. He got put on child support for 600 a month, and he killed her. And I'm like, what did she think was gonna happen? What the fuck did
Mm.
you? Because one, this is what I keep talking about, where people, I don't think they either they know, but they think they're so protected that they're fine. But when you call the government on someone, like the police or something like that, that's violence. You're saying, I'm going to get them to force you. They're going to use force. They're going to use violence on you. It's a threat. So if somebody responds by getting to you first before your proxy violence gets to them, what the hell did you expect?
Oh, they're drunk on it. That's what that is. I think is that like yeah, where they go too far with that, and then things all of a sudden are like, oh, whoops, went too far. It's like, yeah, you were really sipping too much Kool-Aid because you didn't realize it does have a limit. There is only so far it can be pushed.
Well, I think it's fucking retarded, because here's the thing they don't. So one, I don't care how. This is why I think it's always important to look at what it is. To strip away all the little fucking layers and the nice colors and everything. Look at what it is. So I'm going to use violence through this channel, and then of course you have the option of direct violence, right? I could do that too, but I'm not really a match for you. I don't want to get my hands dirty. Whatever my motivation is, I'm just going to use proxy. Now, shit, I think I fucked up where I was going with this. So, damn, yeah, I did.
Going to use violence going too far, thinking they're safe, the government protect them. Uh, I'm just planting seeds back into your brain, bro. They must have
No,
fallen
because
out
it
somewhere.
doesn't. I'm trying to figure out one. Oh, yeah, the only thing that checks power is power. So if you're using
Yes.
violence, somebody's gonna use violence on you. It doesn't matter how you frame it. It's like when you're like, I've had situations where a chick basically tries to get her brother to fight me, and it's like, why don't I should beat this bitch up too? Like, think about what you just did, and it's not like you're innocent from this whole interaction. You're the cause of it. So you're enacting violence. You just don't want to take the risk of causing any damage or exerting any force yourself. So you're
Yeah,
having
and
someone else
there's a
do it.
there's a
There's no
there's a lot more
difference.
to that
And
in
if
that
I,
situation
to me,
too, as
in my
well.
mind,
Yeah,
there's no difference if you were to just grab the knife yourself.
yeah, yeah.
But
That
somehow
is
they
definitely
think,
one component of it. Another component of that, in that specific example you gave, is also one of just enjoying controlling people and watching what happens when they're all being emotionally controlled, and you're you're forced, and whether you like it or not, to do something in that situation. So she feels like she's so enjoying watching you having to submit to this way that it's going to play out. Like it's kind of like watching all the little chess chess pieces fucking move around and shit on the table as well. A sense of control. That's another reason why they like to do that. But um, but yeah, no, it's still definitely there's still proxy in that sense of I'm not going to be the one to get my hands dirty. And yeah, and then that's where you say, but it's like that's all well and true, but like when you kick his ass and take him out of the equation, it's like there was three, now there's two. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o.
oh no, they'll be far gone by the moment they see that it's not going the way they want it to. They're fucking out of there.
Yeah, yeah.
But my thing is, here what pisses me off a lot of times. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna say pisses me off because it doesn't actually make me angry. And it's just that they play it in a sense to somehow like they're innocent, like what they're doing is not the same. And I'm like, no, it's 100% the same. Now we frame it in a different way sometimes when we talk about things like war and shit like that. But at the same time, you don't absolve the soldier or the general from anything that you would dictate as murder. No, it's like you both of you. You gave the orders, you decided to follow. There's not an innocent party involved in that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what happened with, and this is the good example of people understand that they really do need to look at things this way in a much more rational way because well, the last time we had to really put our foot down with those types of situations with like soldiers and orders and was the Nuremberg trials. And motherfuckers basically tried to use the defense of just following orders. And it's like, well, that's all well and true, but you gave him the order. You might have been given, so gave him the order. He also followed that order out, knowing that it was, knew it was. You're all here saying you knew it wasn't right, but the defense of just following orders wasn't good enough. You're gonna hang.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I don't know. It just it's one of those things where I notice it, and I know people always try to play moral gymnastics. Where no, I'm nowhere near as guilty to this degree. It's like it doesn't matter. I don't know why you're playing this stupid ass game, but I'm not gonna acknowledge that you're. I'm not even gonna acknowledge that shit because you're gonna get the same treatment that motherfucker got. As far as I'm concerned, you're just the same as the person who picked up a gun. You're the same exact person. Nothing different
Yeah.
from you. Just like
Oh,
these
oh,
people
definitely.
with right now with their voting and all their shit and everything they're doing. And I was like, oh, you can't just lump everybody. It's like, shut the hell up. Yeah, you kind of can. Like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. No, they 100% know what they're doing. It's just they're not thinking it all the way through. They're thinking about benefit right now. And again, I've talked and heard enough people to know that they are perfectly fine with enslaving others for their benefit. They talk about it pretty
Yeah,
openly now because a lot of people are on board with it. But they're basically they'll pretty much let you know, yes, enslaving, taking other people's money so I can live a certain lifestyle. Yes, that's what they're after. They will justify it, whichever way they see
that's right.
fit.
That's right. That's why often you'll find that a lot of people don't denounce foreign wars and stuff like that because they know they stand to benefit from the fact that one, the war's not on their soil, so at least it's not in their backyard, but also that the goal and objective is going to be to increase the wealth or fucking to control and to take control of resources, foreign resources that benefit the nation. And so that's why a lot of people won't denounce a lot of wars and a lot of things that happen. Um, Even though they may, moral grandstand about that, oh yeah, people dying's terrible and whatever, but it's like, yeah, but at the same time, like, still stand to benefit from this. So, like, yeah, you know better than anyone else. Don't think that just because you're not involved or whatever, like, yeah, and it is a difficult line to walk down because then you start walking down into this territory where they talk about, oh yeah, but all the white people alive today benefit from the black slaves of yesteryear that built the nation and stuff like that. So it's a hard line to fucking walk. Um, but
People are full of
I
shit
don't
when it comes to that. One,
know.
I don't know how the fuck that's the case. Do they look at like the average income and shit like that? And I don't think they look at a lot of this shit because then they'd start
Last time I
realizing
looked up the average income in Australia was about 43, around $45,000 a year was the average income. Last time I checked. Just as a side note to that.
hold on, I'm about to actually.
I think in America you'll find it's much less, but it'll still be roughly about the same because of the extra buying power that being in America as an American, the economy and the US dollar has Australian dollar. But last time I checked, I'm sure it was about 45. Now, oh fuck, I don't know what it'll be now, and you've got to give context of inflation to that as well. So yeah, I don't know. It's not a lot, man. It's not a lot.
Well,
Put it
no, my
that way.
thing is what I'm trying to point out is everyone's talking about these people benefiting from this, and I'm like, so what extent do they fucking think all this shit is happening at? Like, what scale do they think a lot of this shit is going on? Because when you start looking at how a lot of the average people are spending their money, the amount of debt they're using, you start realizing pretty quickly, like this idea that there's just all this. It's all bullshit. Believe me, a lot of it's bullshit.
Oh, of course. I
Especially,
mean, if people knew the truth, they'd care less about the system, bro. That's why, like, yeah, the lies have to be the main narrative, because if a lot of people knew better, man, they'd be like, well, fuck the system.
well, yeah, because again, normally people they're gonna pull the ladder up. Like they're not gonna. That's not how. And again, it's a lot of retardation. Like holy shit.
Mm, mm.
And that's just how it's, I guess, gonna
Oh,
go for a good while.
yeah.
But oh, I put on. I know
Oh,
we had an hour of good shit, so now I'm like, all right, let me put on the gameplay and turn retarded.
okay. You do that, bro. I just had to something to eat. I'm thinking to myself, geez, my brain power's depleting really quick here. Oh, that's right. I haven't eaten today. Shit, better have something.
Well, no, like there's a lot of people. I don't know what the fuck is happening and what people are what they're looking at when it comes to like a lot of where they think their income's gonna be, how they think they're gonna live, and all this shit. And I'm like, clearly they haven't been paying attention to a lot of shit on how things are going, cost of living, and the amount that people use debt to supplement a lot of their fucking like shitty decision making is actually quite
Yep,
fucking alarming because they
yep.
look at it as a way to get ahead, and I'm like, that doesn't. What ahead are you trying to get? What exactly do you think is
Social
success?
status. Most people want that social status, and they want it more when they're young and easily deceived. And most people will accumulate all the debt that they will live with paying back for the rest of their life. They'll accumulate that debt probably before they're 30, and they'll spend the rest of most of their life paying that back.
That sounds fucking terrible. Was that why they go to college so they can spend their life in debt?
Well, otherwise they can't have the car to have the hot chick, or they can't have the house to have the hot chick, or yeah. So that's what they do, and the sad part is a lot of people do it backwards now. And society is sort of moving in a direction where this is the way that it now works. It used to be prioritise, save up, get your house first, but now they're going no. You get the car first, and then you use that car as social status, because nobody wants to see you rock up to work in a $2,000 piece of shit, and then you get looked down upon by everyone you work with, and you don't get the promotions, you don't get treated well or looked at favorably at work
But you're
to
not
then
in
get
large
ahead
ass
enough.
amounts of debt.
Oh, it's bizarre, man, but that's the way it's going. Like, and this changed through from about the 2000s onwards. The priorities went from house, car, girlfriend, family to car, girlfriend, house, and probably either not having a kid until you're really old, like the woman's getting really old, or
So you have a
yeah,
retard
it's
kid.
it. So yeah, and it's all fucking backwards, man. Like the way that it functions now is so backwards, and there's no surprise to any of us who are paying
All right,
attention that yeah, the
one
world's
that is,
backwards. But
your car doesn't need to be super impressive. Getting a promotion. So here's the thing. This is how I know a lot of people are really fucking retarded. So maybe the math works out in their mind, but life is pretty unpredictable. So you never know how things are going to play out. So you can swear up and down it's going to work like this and I'm going to do that. But all it takes is some bad shit happening and you're no longer, that plan now is to go into dog shit and you're no longer getting those things that you were talking about. You're not paying your shit off before you're 50 so you can live retirement or I don't know, whatever stupid shit. It doesn't make any fucking sense because if you're in this huge ass amount of debt and you've got all these payments and all that shit, your money not you don't have a you're not getting a positive worth. It's negative. So you're not
well,
actually
that's
gaining
that's why
anything.
a lot of the youth culture is dying. Like a lot of people through their 20s used to be a little bit more about being young and having a little bit of fun, maybe traveling, going out regularly. Now, a lot of them can't and don't. A lot of these young, I see it all the time, man. Like the culture that the whole system was sort of built on is dying off, and it's changing the economics of the country. Because yeah, a lot of these young ones are like, I can't. I got two brand new cars, and I'm just trying to save up for a house deposit, so I can't go out and be young and do young people things, have fun. But mind you, this is why a lot of these women are like, well, I need somebody else to pay for my drinks and to fund my going. They're doing a very similar thing to what a lot of the young men are doing. So, and the number of men that are out there obviously fund their night in the town is less because a lot of them are stuck in debt. They're in a debt trap, so they're like, well, I can't go out and enjoy myself because I've got stuff to pay off. So it's been interesting to watch that dynamic change a lot, and how it has always been the opposite of pretty much what every other generation has done before them.
There's nothing wrong with building yourself up. Like it takes time, and also you don't have a nice car at the beginning, and your car slowly changes. Well, it might change. It depends. Like, even I remember when I was younger, my brother. Well, I'm not gonna get into that, but there were people who I
Yeah,
knew who they were doing pretty well for themselves. They were doing really well, and guess what? Their vehicle didn't. You couldn't tell by the vehicle. You couldn't tell at all. If you talk to them, they were intelligent. They had degrees. They found ways of getting them paid for, and they went into careers that actually were a benefit to them. They were like STEM and shit like that. They had the means of paying for that shit, so they did it. They didn't go into a bunch of fucking debt and shit.
yep,
Some of them also, not always college. Some other just went into the trades, which again makes perfect fucking sense. Like holy shit.
yeah. It does, but I can tell you what, man. Like we have a real issue in Australia with a lot of people who are so-called and supposed bloody tradespeople that are really fucking bad at their job and really hopeless, and they're overpaid, and like it's really good money. If I was going to tell anyone, if you're going to do something, unless you're born into a nepotistic situation where you can ride off daddy's money and be rich and famous because of your parents' money or whatever, get into a trade. You're fucking well. You're going to be loaded, man. But the problem is that like there is that sense of entitlement, and they've become really useless. And we're getting off topic here, and I do apologise, but
No, that's
I
fine.
just wanted to. I just wanted to
Technically it's not off
mention.
topic, but it's still there.
I did want to mention though that fucking they're really bad, man. Like put it this way, my friends and family, whenever they get someone around who's a supposed so-called tradesperson to do something, I'll be the one to come back around, and they go, oh, I got such and such around, it cost a fortune, I'm not going to pay for him to come back, it's fucking so expensive, I have to go and fix it up, and it'll be something so obvious that's just neglectful of them not being diligent to pay attention to
Well, you
what they're
pointed
doing.
it out right there. It's about entitlement. So again, like when you go to do something with like hands on, that's what a lot of the trades are. The hands on shit. So you go to do that. It is hard work. It's hard work. You got to be very skillful, and the way you get your skills up is by doing it over time. And of course, you do some studying and shit like that. You get your skills up. However, how you I shouldn't have to explain how to do that. That should be something everybody should know what I mean when I'm saying that. But holy shit. But yeah. And so it's come to the point where I hear a lot of people like, yeah, this job, I want to get a job making 100,000 or six figures a year and all this other shit. And I'm just
Yeah,
looking like,
and they would get it. Most of them will get it, being tradespeople in Australia, except for a handful of fucking trades. Most tradespeople would get their six figures.
well, that's not a problem. That's fine. The point I'm making is that, well, one, there's still hard work that goes into that. You still have to do your fucking job. And also a lot of they want I don't think it's so much the money. I think it's more of the status that comes along with it. I think that's more what they're
Possibly.
after.
Possibly.
I don't
Possibly.
think
Yeah, a sense of value, a sense of worth. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't think they really give too much shits about which is weird cuz I thought here comes retarded ass me. I thought the goal was, hey, focus on doing some shit, finding some shit you like to do so that way you can enjoy your work cuz that's what you're going to do until you fucking die. But
Yeah, good
clearly,
luck with that.
yeah, clearly I'm retarded. I'm the
Yeah.
dumbass. It's like, what? No. You do it to get paid, dipshit. And it's like, but what happens if I don't know? There's layoffs and shit like that, and you got to
No,
switch.
you'd be a labourer to get paid, and getting paid is what you do in between when you would hope that at some point you're working towards doing what you do want to do, but it doesn't always work out like that though too. That's something that some people do have to face is like don't always expect that master plan or that plan that Gary over there had and has worked out for him is going to play out that way too. Like definitely be prepared for that.
Well, yeah, life is unpredictable. You can just try and then hope some good shit happens and hope you make it through, but you always got to be adaptable. You got to adjust. If you got to do some other shit, you got to do some other shit.
Yeah.
And the idea that you're just going to go do some shit and then just, I mean, yeah, you could do some shit, you work some years and you start making a shit ton of money. That's cool. God damn. Fucked up. But it just, I don't know. If you're bad at your
What up?
job, then I don't know what the fuck's wrong with you. You clearly probably shouldn't be doing that. Maybe you should be doing something different.
Yeah, but I mean, in their mind, they're not looking at it that same way, man. They really don't. Because I mean, Australia's a very heavily socialist country, man. So there is this sense of why should we be working? Why do I have to work to live? You know, why? This there is this sense of I just want to be able to do what I. And it's like, well, that's all well and true, man, if you're born into a rich family, bro, and you're a sport kid, but most people aren't. And you kind of have to, earn your keep. You kind of have to put in the work, and things aren't always going to go the way that you want it to go. And there is this sense, and this is where disposable men sort of always, they're looking around for them to throw under the bus or to step on or step over to sort of get to where they want to be. Trying to pursue that line to get to that point where they can have that trophy wife and shit. You see that all the time. I see that all the time.
Man, you know, I'm going to chalk up some of it to the male sex drive, but then the other part, because most men are fucking retarded. And again, some of that to the male sex drive, the other part for trying to just go along and trying to be ambitious and get what everybody else has. They're fucking retarded. But if you could clearly see that you do not increase your value or standard of living by getting a woman. Now,
No,
when your value,
but you do shut your mother up.
yeah, when your value, yeah, when your value and when your value increases, yeah, women magically appear. So again, I could see where they would think, oh, well, having a woman must make me successful because all successful men have women. No, no, it's not how that works. They got successful, then the bitches showed up.
Yeah.
Women always just like again, they like to make themselves seem like they just bring so much to the table when that's not true. Because in reality, it's just their vaginas. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, if that was the case, that would be fantastic, man. It's like, yeah, who doesn't want something valuable? And that'd be great.
Yeah, but that's not
It's,
what's happening. Like ever.
no. No, in fact, it's quite the opposite, and I feel sorry for them because a lot of these men get themselves in a situation where they get with these women, and before they know it, they're the one doing the cooking. A lot of the, if not nearly all of the cleaning. They're looking after the kids. As soon as they come home from work, they're spending all their time looking after the kids. And I just see the men, and it's like, dude, you're literally doing everything. You're doing everything. What's going on? This,
I don't
aren't
feel
you?
bad for that. That motherfucker would kill me to keep that life. Fuck him. Now,
Yeah, no, that's right. That is a good point.
is it
Yeah,
unfair that he was lied to about all that shit?
yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
that's pretty fucked up. I mean, it'd been nice if they would have told him the cost up front, like what it really is. But if they
Oh
did,
yeah,
he
good
wouldn't
luck
do
with
it.
that. That's right. Yeah, good luck with that.
So at that point, it's like, hey, you got to like, you start understanding it for what it is. It's like no one's trying to give you benefit and increase your value for your own sake because they love you. That's not how it works. The goal here is if I'm giving you all these things, if I'm giving you this opportunity, do all this stuff, this women, this all this shit, it's because I'm getting more from you than you're getting from me.
Yeah, like a competition, which comes back to the fact that I've always said, like the battle of the sexes is real when you're in a relationship with anyone that's so intertwined like that. There's always going to be the person who wants to be in the control, to wear the pants, be the one, make sure that they're getting more out of it, but not so much as to destroy the relationship and destroy the trust that's there that they're trying to manipulate and control. The battle of the sexes is real, man, and it's just been turned into a meme that people really, when you talk about it, they think it's like what are you talking about, that TV show, or like what are you, misogynist? And it's like, no, it's always a thing, man. There's always jockeying for positions. Like when you're dealing with a boss at work, there's
Yep.
always a battle there to jostle back and forth over who is in a position to benefit most from that situation.
Because I'm not playing that fucking
Always.
game. I'm there to do my job. I know the position. I know where I'm at on the hierarchy. Don't fuck with me. I'll go somewhere else. Don't do that shit.
And what it's come back to is that, like, I don't know whether it always has been or it's just configured itself in this way now. You know, the world we live in is that there's always going to be someone that wins and someone that loses. Never going to be cutting even. There's never meeting way. It doesn't exist. There's always going to be, you're either winning or situation. I like to think that perhaps it's been artificially sort of forced through greed to turn it into that greed and desperation, and perhaps some narcissism. But it is definitely one of those things where there is no middle ground. I used to say there's no middle ground anymore, but I don't know if that's true. But there's definitely no middle ground, man. And it turned into you're either winning or you're losing.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to be?
Well, no, that's the thing. So that's pretty much the reality of it. Is you have something you want and they have something they want. That's how it always goes. So there's conflict, there's contention right there because what you want comes at the expense of what they're after. Just like pointing out, it's like, hey, so this dude has all this freedom and all these resources and everything. Cool, but how am I supposed to manipulate him?
Yep. Yep.
How do I get his shit without getting killed or shot or beaten or something?
Yep.
And it's again, I know a lot of people like to think that harmony shit and all that. Let's push that to the side and let's just think about the rules of just nature really quick. So there's scarcity in everything. If you have something, someone else can't have it. So if I have my freedom, you can't have my servitude.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. In order for me to be able to have a enjoyable, that means that I'm not going to be the person who's going to be chilling out and doing what I want, putting when you want something to be done. And so, yeah, no, I completely understand that. Like, and it depends how you frame it. It depends on when you look at that situation, and they choose to frame it that way. I personally, whether that's human nature or that's just the animal instinct, or I don't know. But um, perhaps I'm leaning a little bit too much into on what I'm trying to talk about here, degree of egalitarianism and fantasy. That's not
Your mic
possible.
keeps breaking up.
Perhaps. Oh, does it? Like, is it Discord or you
I
there?
don't know. You'd have to keep
Is
talking
it
so I
there?
can see if it's still doing it. It was sort of like
Um.
pausing weirdly.
Oh, I'm not. I might have been maybe hitting a pause button there. I don't know. Can you hear me quite clearly now?
Yeah, it's fine now. It's weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's the USB port too. It might be playing up. Fucking, I tell you, if you like USB stuff, man, you use it a lot. Do not get AMD motherboards, AMD fucking chipsets with AMD CPU. Those fucking USB ports are fucking a cunt, and they've always been since going back to like Cyrix. They're fucked.
No, you're right. I have one on the top of my case. The top USB 3.0 port is completely screwed up, and the USB 2.0s don't even work. So I know
Fucked.
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I have to use all the ones in
Yeah,
the back.
yeah, yeah. I don't use the ones on the front of mine either. I know they do occasionally work, But I mean, I don't plug things in to occasionally use them. But well, but yeah. Anyway, I think the point I was making is, perhaps, I'm looking at it. The lie that's been put into my head of egalitarian is in thinking or believing that around their situation, perhaps there's not. Like you say, the more I let them have, the less I'm keeping for myself. And it's just one of those. That's just how it is, I guess. And that's why I guess war's inevitable and fighting's inevitable. And the relationship between men and women, because of it being a battle of sexes and sharing of resources, there's always going to be contention over who's in control and most, and who it's supposed to be about and for. And it's always, and you just can't be in denial of that.
Yeah, that's the thing that it's weird because it should be kind of apparent after a while, and like you even see in the movies and stuff. It seemed like people would talk about it like we know now why. But the old dudes would normally tell the young guys, it's like, hey, this such and such, and women this and all this other shit, and and all this other shit, and watch your friend, because your friends are all fine until money and pussy gets involved, and all that information that your dad should tell you, that you would hope that
Yep.
he would, that type of shit.
Well,
But you
that's
just
the government agenda, man, and this is something I sort of was getting a little bit more straight in my head over the last couple of months. Sort of looking at and understanding that a lot of what we're witnessing that's going on, and the reason why sort of fucking going stupid, especially for men, is the idea is to con the men into thinking they need to be with the women, get them to get the women pregnant, have the kids, then plant the seeds in the women's mind that they need to get rid of the men, and some of that is their biology as well. Get rid of the men so that in that period of time, there's no man, no father figure or authority figure to teach the kids about discipline and self-control. And then when they're in that situation, they become ideal consumers, and they're also much easier for them through the education system and the media to turn them into what the government would prefer them to be or needs them to be. And then you also plant in those men's minds that the older women are beautiful. All women are beautiful, so that when those women get to that point where the kids leave home, the government no longer needs the kids to control, manipulate them, and they've used them for what they need, and they've turned them into what they want. Then those older women will then be after in their older years by the men, because the men have been conned into thinking that these older women who aren't attractive to them naturally, they'll feel compelled to do it, and so then the older women get after when they're no longer and something that they want, that they need to be looked after, because what are the women going to do when and
all right.
they're
I'm
not
not gonna
sexually
give them that
desirable?
much credit. I will say that part of that, yes.
It
The
makes
part
sense
about
kind of in a
the
way,
part
a lot of
about
it, doesn't it?
taking the kids and the woman and government and the dad, and basically separating the male from the family, because then there's no protector at all, and it's easier to enact all that. The part about them like taking care of the older ladies, like the men doing that, they don't give a fuck about that part. That part doesn't mean anything to them, because one, they know that the women, when especially the older women, will vote for them anyways. They don't fucking have husbands. They're gonna vote for whatever party's gonna give them free shit and quote unquote take care of them. But if you look at a lot of the poverty stats and all that shit, women are just poor as shit.
Yeah.
Like no matter the welfare, all that shit, they're just poor as fuck. And it's like kind of ridiculously bad. Like I mean, really, really bad. And when they get older, it just gets worse. So that's why I'm sitting here like, no, they don't care about the men taking care of the women
Well,
when they're older. Because
all I'm trying to do.
those men who got destroyed, they can barely take care of them fucking selves when they're older, depending on how it played out for them.
Oh, well, we spend most of our time like we are now, sorting ourselves out, getting over it, leveling ourselves up, and then later on we value, and then they're like, value themselves up. Well, we tell them that these old women are worth being with, and then they get with these older women. They're much. You see what I mean? So I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of it, because otherwise, the lie of trying to tell the men and convince the men that all women are beautiful and the younger valuable. They're all valuable. It doesn't make sense to tell that lie unless, like, I'm trying to look for the motivation as to what's to be gained out of that lie. Obviously a lie, because most
Oh,
men are
it's
biologically
well, no, you're
attracted
no,
to.
you're right because it's basically that motivation is for women. So basically, shame men into going against their own fucking biology. It's like that doesn't work, and you can see
Yeah.
it clearly doesn't work because the dudes will fuck an old woman, but they're not gonna marry an old woman. It just doesn't happen. And some of the articles I've seen, when it does happen, it ends really fucking badly.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to sort of piece it all together to go, well, what's their plan? What path? Because the path used to be obvious of what they wanted men to go down, and that was, be healthy, look after yourself, and have the parents look after you when you're young, so you grow up, and then, you get a job, and then as you're getting promoted, you then get to in you while you're young. Like, you knew the path, man. Everyone talks about you follow the be happy sort of thing from the 1950s, and now I'm like, well, what's their path now? Because
Oh, they
they're
don't.
social
Well, you
engineers.
said their path, and it's actually pretty fucking gruesome. So they get into a shit ton of debt chasing a carrot on a stick, and the carrot on the stick is happiness through the form of you're gonna be accepted by everybody. I guess it's a weird. To me, from my perspective, it's a weird. That's a weird thing.
Well, yeah, I don't know, and
Also,
I
who the
probably
fuck
shouldn't
is
be.
not? Oh yeah, that's right. They don't teach that shit in school anymore. They don't teach you
So
money. They don't teach you not to get into debt. They don't teach you about any of that shit.
yeah, we learn it the way we're learning now, where us men get together after being screwed over when we're younger, and we sort of work it out, and then yeah, like I say, you get older, and then they put you in that. Because I see it all the time now in relationships that I see with older men that are they get with a woman who used to have kids. They're old enough, left home, and he used to have a wife where he's got kids that are sort of, and he's divorced, she's divorced, and then they get together and they spend the next, 10, 20 years together. That's the sort of like what I see at the moment anyway. But I don't know,
Anyways,
man. It's a lot to process, man. It's an awful lot to think about. I really wish I didn't have to think about it, man. But sometimes I think to myself, "Fuck, am I the only one kind of noticing this, paying attention?
well,
Am I
no,
the only
I was
one?"
actually I forgot who it was that did a video on that. I think it was Coach Greg Adams, and it was about young dudes. Like I didn't know they were doing this because I would have never did this shit. I would have. I'm not going into debt to take some bitch out on a date. You must be out of your fucking mind. And so apparently, because when I was younger, yeah, my car looked like shit. I mean, my car ain't that cool now, but fuck you. I did that. I did that on purpose. Before I didn't have a choice. And my thing was, I didn't realize they were going to these extents, but it kind of should have been common sense to me. So if they're trying to compete with diversity quotas and all this shit and all these other older men and everything, and when you're young, you don't have any fucking money. And you think
Yep.
about the average guy, like as far as looks go, women don't fucking care about your looks. They don't give a shit. So it's like, holy shit. They don't they as far from their point of view, they don't have a fucking choice because they're brainwashed to the point where they believe they don't have any value unless they get it from someone else. They think value become gets assigned to you like externally,
Well,
it's a
that's
weird.
the lack of. It's the lack of bloody the what's the called the rite of passage. The lack of and the of perhaps the destruction of the rite of passage. That's where the necessity for the validation, because you used to know when you got to that point because you did that thing and then it was done, and you're just like, that's your rite of passage. You're done. You're a man. You're happy, or you're on the right path. And now those type of rites of passage just
Now the rite of passage
non-existent.
is debt, and I don't know.
What, you got screwed over and divorced? Congratulations.
I
Welcome to
knew
the
a
club.
dude. I shit you not. I guess he was dating a chick, and he co-signed a fucking lease for this bitch, and then she broke up with him. I'm like, yeah, no shit, fucking dipshit. What the fuck is wrong with you? Also, if you had to co-sign, she doesn't have good credit. She doesn't pay her fucking bills. She's not gonna pay that.
Oh, the
Hope,
court will order it and just say you must pay all those maintenance costs because otherwise she'll lose the house. And then what's the point in giving it to her? The judge will say, and it's like, so yeah, there you go. You pay for everything and you've
no, this
lost
wasn't even
as
his
well.
wife or his baby mama or anything. This is just some bitch.
Damn. Because that happened to my brother, man. He got kicked out of his house when he was, a dumbass. He's still a dumbass. But yeah, the court basically just said, yeah, you got to pay the electricity bill. You've got to pay the
Yep.
fucking mortgage. You got to pay all this shit. Yeah, luckily that he changed he had this like expensive at the time like 80,000, probably more close to 120, 130,000 worth now car. He got that put over into my father's name, so that too hard for him to touch it. But because matrimonial home and there's kind of no way around. I'm sure if there was, he would have tried to do it. But then I thought to myself, well, it's too late fucking now. I don't know why this is about to lose everything. Now have a plan of oh fuck.
Well,
Okay.
no, that's normally people just are on. They think everything's gonna be great. That shit won't happen to me. So I'm just gonna plan for the best.
I'm one of the good men. That won't happen to me. I'm not one of the losers.
Yeah, because
Deadbeat
she
dad or
said
any of that.
so, and she said it, so it must be true.
Plus, she said my dick's big.
Yeah, women never divorce guys with big dicks.
Yeah.
That's like a proven fact. So yeah,
So the moral of the story is we're gonna have to take out the government.
I didn't say that because that's not even possible. I don't think that's honestly that's not a thing. Like in
No,
reality,
no
like
way.
yeah, when you look at it, it's the government's gonna enslave everybody. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. Get ready to be China, because that's what's gonna happen. Do you like China? Because that's how you become China.
Shashini.
Yeah, shit. I don't know how to speak
I think
Chinese.
Shashini is thank you, I think, or something like that. Because that's what I'll have to say when they're whipping me. I'll have to thank them for it, so I better learn that word.
Right?
All hail China.
Basically, well, yeah. I mean, we'll probably be dead by then. Hopefully, probably
Oh,
not.
I know. How cool is that? We're only just going to be caught up in it by the time we're out of here, man. It's like, oh, that's such good timing. Fuck me, dead. You can't cut it any closer, can you?
It's like, oh damn, we're all gonna suffer. It's like, no, you're gonna suffer. I'm out
Yeah.
of here. I'm a way out already.
And if I'm lucky, I'll get a form of cancer that's not quite as aggressive and not quite as fucking painful to live through in your dying days. And I'll get a script of weed, and I'll just sit down at the beach and laugh at you all while I toke on a doobie, getting high, and then I'll yeah be chucked in a hole or chucked in an incinerator.
Hopefully. Well, honestly, I don't really give a shit because you're gonna die one way or another. So it is what it is. The only thing that pisses me off is like there's no difference to make. So that's why a lot of people they talk about this martyr shit and all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, that shit only means something is if you could sort of like it's like, hey, I'm dying, but I'd like to think what I'm dying for or how I'm gonna die is gonna help towards making the situation better for others who are gonna be alive.
Yeah, if my life's wasted, at least it becomes something that I understand that that's a weird sense of rationality. It's like, oh, I got cancer. Oh, well, load me in the cannons and fire me at China. I may as well make use of myself while I'm alive. Like in
Yeah,
death, if I'm gonna die, make
only a
myself.
human could be on some shit like that. That's only humans would go to a point of thinking some shit like that. I know they like to put like animals doing that in movies, but that's movies. In real life, that's
Yeah, no.
so yeah. It is actually
Whatever
it's
Kool-Aid
actually
you're
some.
sipping, I don't want it.
I think it's actually something that's pretty. I don't know if I want to say admirable, but it makes sense. So I guess yeah. I guess I could say I admire it then. Cause yeah, it
Well,
makes sense and it seems I'm not gonna say it's practical, but if you don't have any options, you know you're on your way out anyways. and you're like, well,
It's a
fuck.
good use of resources. Put
Yeah, there we go.
it.
Yeah, it's efficient use of your dead ass. Yeah, there we go. You're already fucking died, half useless. Thanks for the
Yeah,
contribution on your way out. So
we
yeah, I
appreciate
mean,
it. You're
yeah,
not going to do shit. You're going to be literally like a fly getting splattered on the wall, literally and figuratively. But still, A for effort, bro.
right. So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, but that's the thing that kind of pisses me off, and that's why I kind of noticed like young men, if they have enough and they start tearing some shit up, I'll literally move out of their way. You go to it.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I'll
yeah.
take your
Go for
ass out if
gold.
you try to fuck with me, but still, because I noticed nobody gives a fuck about young men, like at all. They're thrown to the wolves. They have the worst fucking roadmap ever because they're given all the wrong directions. They're shitted on. So imagine that. You don't know what's up or down. You're trying. The roadmap you're given seems to have all these horrible results. Whenever you think you figured something out, like, hey, I know you guys said this, but this actually works. You get punished. You get the shit kicked out of you.
Oh yeah, it's a weird sense of fucking sacrifice. It really is, man. It really
Fucking
is.
gaslighting is what it is. Fucking
It's like, yeah,
destroying the
no,
shit out of them.
the price has to be paid, and it's like, I know what we'll pay that price with. We'll pay it with our youth and our future. We'll pay it. There we go.
Yep.
That's smart. But I can't afford to care. I don't have the time to care, and that is what it is. But it's sad because I remember at a time when people fought to protect kids and the young people of the world, man. And now it's just like, yeah, nah, let them go, let them
It's
go.
funny because they
And
fight to
and
protect
it's
the.
like,
It's funny because they fight to protect the women, but they protect the women to fuck their own lives up.
yeah,
So-
yeah,
so it's like holy shit. So think about it. So in reality, it's like you're doing all the wrong decisions.
yep,
So you're sabotaging the people who make and create society and protect and all this shit. And then the ones who are basically fucking dependents, you're investing in them to destroy their own fucking lives.
yeah.
And then you're basically sacrificing and destroying the ones who at the expense of them to fuck their own life. It's like holy shit, you're all retarded. It's like, yep, this is what. And here's the thing: this is all the result of slave morality. That's exactly what this shit is. That equality, that fucking empowering the
Yes.
weak, and all this shit, and inverting
And it means they
mass
know they're a
morality.
slave. It means they know they're a slave because otherwise you wouldn't know to sacrifice. You know
Yep,
what I mean?
yep.
It's like, wow, you even know that, man. Fuck. Dang.
So yep, it's well, no, they want to be slaves. They're weak.
Yeah, because I think it's a sense of thinking they've been looked after.
Yeah, it's a way of being protected. So yeah, they're gonna sacrifice you for their protection. So because I don't know where the rationale comes, so it can't have anything to do with rationale. That if you're sacrificed, then they'll live. But it's like, won't you just be
It's
next?
gotta be fear. It's the fear is the only one that can be powerful enough to motivate it. Surely it's fear.
Yeah, because holy shit, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Well, yeah, especially that I guess fear is irrational. So yeah, you would do irrational shit.
Well, fear makes people into cowards, and yeah, cowards do cowardly shit, and you got to be very careful around cowards because yeah, they're the first ones to go. Oh, maybe if I throw all these babies down on these train tracks, it'll slow the train down from hitting me. Like,
It's
yeah,
like,
go for it, bro.
can't you just move out the way of the train?
But I'll look like a coward, and then women won't want me.
But you actually are though. So that's one of the
Actually, it doesn't
things.
look like a bad game, man. That's what's it called?
Uh, tiny. It's basically Borderlands, but it's Tiny Tina's. That's why I turned the audio off because I don't want to hear the fucking narration and story and all that stupid shit.
Uh,
And it's all right. It was all they had it on sale for like $30 the other day,
right.
but I didn't get it when it was on sale because I'm retarded, and so I
I
paid
hate
more.
that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you think to yourself, if I just bought everything I think I like when it's on sale, I'd have 10,000 games, and God knows if I'm ever going to play them.
I thought everybody had this one, so I got this one. It turns out they had the original one, so I got the original one as well. So I got both, but nobody plays either. So I don't even know why I bought the fucking game. So it's like,
Steam
yep,
thanks you for your contribution.
yeah. It's like, oh, Valve Corporation would like to thank you. It's like, oh, fuck
Yeah.
you.
Ah,
Is this
well.
better than the one I have?
That's only like an hour's worth of work from me, so that's not too bad of a loss.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try this one for a while. What were we saying about they're sacrificing to
I
Moloch
don't know.
and
Yeah, killing
oh yeah,
babies,
no,
sucking their
the
spinal
the
fluid.
appearance thing. So that shit really pisses me off. So they don't want to appear as in their cowardice or fear or whatever. They want to appear like that's not the case, but they clearly fucking are. Like that's clearly what's happening there. And it's like at this point, it's like just own it. What the fuck's wrong with you? Why would just own it? Like holy shit.
Well, a lot of it's the perspective of are you being perceived to be the coward through men's eyes or through women's eyes? And for most of them, they don't want to be the coward in women's eyes.
They realize if the other men don't respect them, they're probably just gonna eventually kick their ass, right? Like the real test of it, a lot of times, and a lot of guys don't get this part. So you can have authority over somebody through some government or third party, cool. But if they ultimately don't fucking like you, like they don't respect you at all in any facet, after a while, you're gonna find that that would have been really valuable when shit hits the fan. Like when shit gets really bad, that would have been really valuable to have.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
there are some things
Yeah.
that moral code shit in men that's not like that can be conditioned, but a lot of that comes from nature as well. So there's certain shit that yeah. So again, we live in different times. The morality of the week is the ice cream of the day, and yeah, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll go through their whole life being a weak, cowardly piece of shit, and they'll just have nothing but riches and bitches all the way to grave. And I'm just completely wrong. I'm just a bitter incel playing my video games. But I'm just saying,
Uh, yeah.
it just might. I'm just saying though that if you focus on, and also I don't know, that lets me know they don't know shit about women anyways. They pay attention to your social standing as well. They don't pay attention to just it's not just how you appear to them only. They pay attention to your social standing. So how you appear in the group and the other men too matters as well. I don't know if they
Big
knew
time.
that.
Yeah. Big time. Definitely.
So clearly they're retarded, and they're gonna get all the comeuppance that they. Fuck them. This is again. This is where the whole where you don't actually look into things and you just act on. I don't even know what the fuck that is. I don't know what type of acting on that is. It's clearly not rationality. It's clearly not any actual information. It's not any observations.
Look at that
It's
fucking horse with his fucking nose up in the air.
yeah. I don't. I have
What
no
a
clue what's up with that.
pansy looking fucking thing. Like, do you want something jammed in your ass? It looks like you're like, whoa, what happened to it?
So yeah. But no, that's actually that's part of like a human thing where people make these weird leaps in logic and they don't
Everyone wants
actually
to seem like they think like they know what they're doing, because that's the big lie of confidence that I always laugh at when, a lot of these men want to act they're confident and they know what they're talking about, they know what they're doing. It's like, you can't, in all fucking, rational and logical sense, honestly, that cannot be true. You'd like it to be true, you want others to believe it's true, but that can't be true, that sense of confidence and belief in knowing and being right. Sorry, man, anyone who thinks about it, thinks for a second, honestly, surely sees through that. So, this is kind of the reason why the women know to pick those types of men that are confident, not because of their confidence, but because of the foolishness of it.
yeah, they're easily manipulated because they're fucking stupid.
And it's like, look, I get it, man, but you want to be confident about things like when it comes to your calling, your career, your trade, your job. You want to be confident for reals, because it's going to be a problem when you go broke, because then it's like, well, you were so confident you were right. Why isn't it working, bro? You know, and
Oh,
then
because it was because of his
it's
confidence
crazy.
wasn't confidence, it was arrogance. There's a
And the
difference.
price to be paid is your future, your happiness, your income. You know, wasted effort, wasted time to that point. It's so foolhardy. All right, that's a lame word, but still, it's
No,
accurate, I
that
guess.
makes that you're bringing it back like porch monkey.
Bringing it back to the old school.
Well, no,
Something,
yeah,
something, something.
it's one of those. It's fucking. Hey, it just is what it is. And a lot of the times, this is the shit where a lot of those old what are they called, foibles or tales or aesops or whatever the hell they called. A lot of those old stories, they talked about a lot of that shit just for those reasons, not to let your pride, ego, and
Oh,
arrogance and shit
fairy
get the better
tales,
of
not
you.
fairy tales. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, a lot of those were designed to be something that was talked about and framed in a way that was that young people and kids could listen to and sort of process. But like once you understood it a lot better, you know, as you learned more and got lesson, that wasn't just fun or entertainment or anything. It was something that was designed to give you information. And that's why I try to explain to a lot of people, you know, that's really what the Bible is, right? The Bible essentially is something that's framed in a way to kind of get you to understand something that, you know, until you have a little bit more context or you are able to understand that some of it is metaphors and analogy, and some of it's not. It is, and this is why I get pissed off when all the religious guys come in here and they start proselytizing. I can't even say it, but they
Proselytizing.
start, yeah, they start preaching shit, and it really annoys me because it's like, no, you missed the too, man. Because a lot of it is just like early knowledge, early wisdom that was kind of tried to be passed on in a way where it was easy to digest, easy for people to accept that it existed, whether they hated it or liked the subject matter, and sort of, you know, hiding it in plain sight in a way to talk about it, use certain words and language context that enabled it to exist without it being destroyed and burnt, because it was trying to teach people some fucking shit that, you know, was against other people's best interests, or it wasn't what they wanted gendered. um, that's a whole nother can of worms, and
Well,
if you
no,
want it for a little
no.
while.
God damn it,
But
were they called oisops? What the hell were they called?
what
I don't
the
know, but
hell is an oyster?
I don't know. I just keep thinking the word Aesop for some reason. I don't know why, like Aesop fables. But anyways, when I was a kid, they had those cartoons. Like they had a lot of cartoons that talked about a lot of those old stories and stuff to teach you not to be retarded.
Right? Didn't work.
No, no, it
I mean,
didn't.
not for you personally. I mean, like collectively, it didn't work for society.
Yeah, not at all. So it is what it is. But that no, because a lot of that shit, like I deal with that at work. Like there's some people where they feel a certain way because of how long they've been doing something. So somehow they feel they should know, or they. And I'm just sitting here like you're fucking human. One, it's like you can't remember everything all the time. That's not how it works. So you kind of just got to get over that shit and let it go. Also, ask questions, Google, do whatever the fuck you got to do. You know what I mean? That's just how, yo. It's like even like super smart nerdy motherfuckers who like build circuits and all the shit like that. One of the things that they practice is they never get rid of their books because they always
No
have to go
way.
through and review shit all the time because you're a human being. You can't remember all that shit.
Even people with basic things like a fucking resistor and the color bands and explaining what they
Yep.
are. Like you might know a dozen of them when you see them straight off the top of your head. But like there's no fucking way. And that's why we have things like the periodic table of elements. It's like, well, they just teach you about that in a paragraph and then you just remember it. There's a reason why it's designed and structured in a table with colors and it's everywhere. It's on every wall in science. Anywhere science is, it's there. Because you're going to need to look up at that and go, oh, yep, that's in that row and that column. Okay, cool. You
Yep.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. So that's why you learn the process or the method of looking shit up or looking into stuff, and because you're gonna have to constantly keep doing that shit. But if you get so arrogant and so super confident, which I've sat next to a motherfucker doing that while I'm bringing up the Google page, like that's none of that's accurate. Nothing what he's saying is right or true. He's making all of that up.
Yep.
It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like that type of shit. But they say it confidently, and that's supposed to mean something. Fuck you and your confidence. Yeah, you're confidently wrong.
Yeah.
Thanks. You helped no one. I award you no points.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody is dumber for having listened to what you said just now.
Got this motherfucker. Yeah, you're dead now. Woo! Yeah, so that's why that shit is retarded. That's why I don't like that alpha male bullshit. And black women, I remember when I was younger, them spouting, oh, man doesn't say sorry. It's like, bitch, are you trying to get me killed? What the fuck is wrong with you? And it's like, yeah, they are trying to get you killed. They want a fucking battle royale. So whoever's left, it doesn't matter who's left. They're
Yeah.
just gonna sleep with the drug dealers.
A real man, when he sorts something out and has defused the situation, goes back to them with a stick and pokes them in the fucking eye. Yeah, that's what a real man does.
It's like, what? I think that's how you get killed. I don't think that's how that works. I think it's a horrible idea.
Nah, it's garbage, man.
Well, I
All
mean,
garbage.
it's not supposed to help you. If that's one thing to
No,
remember.
not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, like, this is, like, you've sort of helped reiterate with me is one, the idea fucking people don't behave themselves unless they're consequences. But, people also, they only care about, things from their perspective and when they've got something to gain from it. And if that falls outside of the boundaries of those fucking, they don't give a fuck, and you shouldn't give a fuck. You listen to them. And yeah, so that's something you've helped reinforce for me, just in the language and I guess the way you deliver it more so than other people. I appreciate that, because that's definitely been a very helpful bit of life advice, my friend. I can assure you.
Oh, not a
But
problem.
yeah,
I'm partly autistic, so it was easy.
it's okay, man. I love retards too.
It's like, yeah, we can't put them all in the gas chambers yet. I mean, still Geneva conventions and shit. We gotta wait till it's gone.
Yeah, I'm saving you for another time when I really need to sacrifice you, bro. It's all good.
Right? It's like we all need a scapegoat.
When it's a rainy day, just run and hide, because I'll need you to be sacrificed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, but again, that's one of those things where there's a lot of life lessons that aren't really taught anymore. That really could save a lot of fucking headache. Because holy shit, again, people are stupid, so they think if somebody speaks with confidence or aggression, that means they're right. But that's not what that means at all.
No. Yeah, I know.
In
Oh no,
fact,
that's
a lot of
painful
times,
because it's instinctual. Like you'll notice it in yourself when there's that dude who does that, regardless whether they're right. They capture your attention straight away because it's like, oh, well, based on that kind of attitude, it sounds like this motherfucker knows what he's talking about. Oh, well, this will be interesting. And
oh,
so that's what happens.
yeah, well, my knee jerk reaction to a lot of that shit nowadays is immediately like, oh, that sounds cool. Let me look into that and verify that. I need to verify that. I don't know if I have nothing to. I don't have a point of reference to. I don't have anything to compare that against. So I need to verify that because fuck
Which is
I've
smart.
I've been burnt. Like there's some shit. I've like again we've all been down this road where I just heard some shit. It's like, man, that sounds so believable. That sounds so accurate. And then eventually you're like, hey, I looked into that and that's all fucking wrong. I am
But the
so
bad
happy I
part,
didn't.
and the sad part is that fucking this is where misinformation dangerous is because by the time you're at that point, these poor other fuckers that have just believed it and gone along with it, they're paying the price and they're fucking screwed because you can't act on information in hindsight and use a time machine to go back. That's why fucking it's so important to not act quickly and to give a period of time while you confirm and validate whether or not that information is correct, incorrect, or whatever. And by the time you correct the record, the damage is done. And this is what happens with government, and this is why I don't like when government, for example, in the middle of COVID, and say, "Oh no, talk. It's not the time for discussion. This is not the time to talk about it." And I'm like, "Bitch, this is exactly the time to talk about it
Right?
because if people are gonna act on this, by the time they realise they fucked up and you're wrong, too late."
Yep. So yeah, that's like holy shit. What the fuck? Oh. Yeah. So I mean, well, normally you can tell if somebody's trying to get everybody to shut up. They probably got some nefarious shit that they're working on. It's, it's most
Yeah.
likely not everybody's best interests. That's normally what's happening. So it's like, kind of got a feeling. I don't know. I just got this weird idea. We not go along with what you're talking about. We do something different.
Yep.
So yeah, but
Uh,
as far as where's, oh, damn it, just wants some
well,
ammo.
it's like climate change too, man. Like with climate change, it's like, dude, like now's the time to ask questions. Like before you fuckers go and do something fucking radical and drastic. Um, that's the time. It's not like fucking we just need action now. Just do it now. It's like no, stop, think, and if someone's asking a question and you think you're right, then just fucking show them the evidence, bro.
Oh shit! I
And if
just
they
sold
go,
my weapon. Ah damn! I gotta go back.
sorry,
Ah
man, my bad.
damn! But no, yeah, what you're saying about the evidence.
Yeah, sorry if I
Damn.
distracted you, bro, but you need to manage that shit, man. That's you. But fucking, um, yeah, like people, if they've got the evidence and the proof, it's like, okay, that's great. But if then someone can then say, well, hang on, no, that's not true, or what about this other thing that you're not factoring in, or whatever. It You need to be able to answer these questions. People need to be able to ask questions, and you need to be able to answer them. If you think you're right, and you think you're the team that's like, no, I'm right. It's like, well, then fucking show your proof, bro. Because I'm not going to believe what you're saying about like the entire planet's being affected by something. With you just saying because my feelings. No fucking way. Tell me. Show me. And if I can prove you're wrong or be asked, so be it. Get over it. And that's what this kind of pisses me off about trying to deal with things that are especially contentious and important things is why is there a fucking problem with doing investigation? Like if I was a police officer investigating a crime and you said, now's not the time to ask questions, officer, I'd be like, hang on. Wait a minute.
Did you do it? You did it, didn't you? You can tell us. We won't arrest you.
I'm your
No.
friend.
Yeah. You need some coffee? Let's get you some coffee.
Want some donuts? Take it easy. We'll get you out of here in no time.
Look, we got a room. We got look this comfortable ass room, bright ass lights, and this one
Although
single
those,
chair.
those bars and cells, that's for the bad guys. We're not worried about them. It's just you and I talking. Just chill. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah. We're still decorating it here. We'll get some smart LEDs hooked up. But, just take a seat.
Save the environment.
Yeah. So yeah, it's normally when people want to shut it down, it's because they don't want you looking into it. Because if you start saying the shit out loud, people might be like, "Hey, that doesn't make any fucking sense."
Yep. Or those people that work it out and know it doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, you need to be quiet now. We need to censor you because it's dangerous. You're dangerous. We need to silence you.
Yes. So it's it is what it is. I mean, at this point, the amount of censorship and everything like that that's going on. One, I don't want to hear anyone talk about fucking free speech. They need to go fuck themselves. I don't believe as far because it goes to a point where once you start shifting the culture to the degree that they have, that those words don't mean anything of what they're trying to say they do. What is this?
Wait, wait, what? Your words didn't make any sense then. Just hang on. Now you're doing. Can you reframe that in a way that I understand a bit better? Sorry, man, it
All
didn't
right,
come across
cool.
quite,
So
quite right.
free speech, as we're supposed to know it, means that basically you have the right to say whatever you want. You can criticize the government as long as you're not basically like screaming fire in a movie theater and getting somebody trampled to death. So
Yeah, they'll
essentially,
say that.
as long as you're not calling for violence or immediately hurting somebody, you can say whatever you want. You can criticize the government. You can do whatever.
Okay.
That's not true anymore. That
But
shit is
yeah, I was gonna say, where's the but?
yeah, that shit is not true at all anymore. Like period.
Yeah.
We've kind of
Yeah.
shown like, nope, that's not what's happening.
Right.
And wait, I can get more ammo now. Oh, fucking finally, god damn.
That's what I'm trying to find. Some fucking ammo. I ran out of ammo when I was playing with Sits the other day. Yesterday when we. My apologies for obviously being a fucking retard and carrying on too much with my frustration. I
No,
should
that's
have had more
fine.
patience.
The damn
I
game
should have
wasn't
had more
working.
patience. No, we worked it out in the end. Me and Sits, we played for fucking hours. We had an awesome time, bro. We actually got to the point where we like come across a boss and we were poning. We just pwned that boss, man. Like, yeah. Anyway, you'll have to check out that part of the video anyway where we fought the boss. It's fucking memorable as fuck, man. I guaranteed one of those moments I'm glad we fought it. They don't happen often in life.
Yeah.
But yeah, once we worked it out, we were laughing, man. But that's just so bizarre to have that screenshot mode, where it clears your user interface off for shots. For that to have been the issue. Fuck.
Oh
I
yeah.
wouldn't have
Plus,
guessed in a
well, I
million
was I was
years.
tired as shit. I was feeling kind of sick
Yeah.
because I don't know.
But
I don't know how to take rest days, and that's my fault. I gotta work on that.
fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, my apologies for coming across very impatient. Because even
No,
now
that's
I'm
cool.
having a bit too much caffeine, and yesterday I had caffeine. And you know what people are like when they get jittery, jumpy, and on caffeine, bro.
Not really. I
Sometimes they
couldn't
can be
tell
like,
because
calm down, man, calm down.
you don't have a high strung demeanor. So even if you are, I wouldn't be able to notice. I'll be honest. I didn't
Oh,
notice.
well, okay, I appreciate that honesty, bro. It's always good to have a bit of perspective from through other people's eyes, knowing that they've been honest because they had no reason to lie to me.
Yeah.
Except, hmm,
I don't have a reason to
no,
lie. I
but anyway,
clearly could. I'd be honest. I could not tell you were frustrated because your voice sounded exactly the same.
fair enough. Yeah, I am very monosyllabic and whatnot with the way I talk. I'll give you that. But yeah, anyway, we had fun, man, and yeah, we've got it all worked out and cut it out, bro. It'd be good to be able to play with a few other lads. At some point, man, get a few other people, even if it's people from his circles or his friends or whatever. But fucking sort of want to get something happening, as far as gaming goes. You know what I mean? Like it's great we can jump
Don't think
on
I
and we
can
can
pull
be
that off
talking
just
heads, and
yet.
have a little bit of this going in the background. It'd be good to be able to have gaming streams, have some content that's a little bit for anyone and everyone. And I had to use damn words that I don't like using to be diverse and inclusive. But that's kind of what was
Oh,
happening.
whoa, 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 whoa! Cussing up a storm over there.
Yeah, I know. I feel a bit gross. I'm gonna go and have a shower with bleach.
God, what? Oh, you kiss your mother with that mouth? Jesus.
Gross, bitch. But yeah, it is. Yeah. So that worked out well for me and him anyway.
Well, that's what's
And there
up.
was a few other people that would have loved to have hopped in as well, but they kind of fucked around him. And I was pushing to get, like, this comes back to what you were saying before. That's right. Just to close off,
Damn
what
it.
you were saying before was that you wanted, you're getting late and you getting tired and whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's why I was trying to everyone on board to just whatever everyone wanted, even if I hate it. I'm whatever. Man. Let's just get the ball rolling and start somewhere. Just start somewhere, because that's all
Yeah.
it takes with YouTube, bro. Is you just do it, just do it, and once you've done it a couple times, then you before you know it, oh shit, I got momentum. So yeah, I was trying to push to get everyone to hurry the fuck up, man, because it was getting late.
Oh yeah, it happens though. Like that's one of the things about life. The fact that's why I always bring up the whole thing about like patience. And whenever you're working towards anything, no matter what it is, it could be something small, like just organizing people to get like gaming stuff together. Like you realize like that takes time, and then it's like you do all this shit, and it's like, oh, that didn't work. Fuck, now we gotta try again. Oh, that didn't fucking work. Here we go again. Oh shit. It's amazing how that didn't work at all, even though all that effort was put to that. Ain't that a bitch? Oh look, that time it almost worked, but look at this motherfucker right here. Had to fuck it all up. So it's like, yeah, that
Yeah.
that I could understand that, but that's one of the things about what a lot of these young motherfuckers don't get is in life you're gonna work at like there's some stuff that you'll do so many times over and over again. You're like, why the fuck isn't this working? I swear I have all the pieces together, and you just have to go over it and I'll go over it and go over it, and eventually you get it, and you're like, ain't that a bitch? So that's what it took. Huh. Let me write that down so I can forget it in 5 years when I go through this whole process again.
Yes.
So it's perfectly fine and understandable. That's just how it is.
Yeah. 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 It is what it is. I mean, I'm sitting here chuckling to myself, but my AI software's fucking. It's going. Oh, you're not talking like you normally do, loud enough. To filter out your laugh. So it might sound like I'm just sitting there, like being dead set quiet, listening to you, but it's the AI stuff doing it. Because have you used NVIDIA Broadcast? You've got an RTX, haven't you? You haven't got a
No, I've got an old
graphics card.
ass RX 580.
Oh, you do too. That's right. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say this NVIDIA Broadcast software. It actually is really fucking cool. Because like right now, I've got a fan going to me, an air conditioner, a radio going in the background to fucking distract eavesdropping motherfuckers, cars going past me and shit, and you can't hear any of it, I guarantee.
No, I can't.
Yeah, and that's all through the software, bro. That's
Oh, cool.
utilizing the ray tracing was on the graphics card. It's fucking cool, man. And it's the same. Basically, they use the same thing when it comes to an artificial green screen, where you don't need a green screen anymore with the software and with NVIDIA cards. They'll just delete the background using AI to pluck it out, delete it, and you put in whatever you want.
That's cool.
Yeah, I know. I just like the fact that it's and just technology that's gotten that far. Insane. That is insane technology. Yeah, they're kicking their ass, man.
Well, I see what they're doing. They're literally look, the goblins from the Gremlins. Is that the movie Gremlins? That's what it was, Gremlins.
Gremlins, they're fucking fat ones, eh?
Right? Well, they say they're goblins, but they literally look like the the Gremlins from the movie Gremlins.
Don't
It's
feed
probably
them
was
after
on
midnight.
purpose,
More like they've been eating all the way up until midnight. Look at how fat they are.
right? It's a good idea. Like a lot of the young guys probably don't know this, but it's a good idea to stop eating at a certain time a day. Just cut it out.
Well, you should basically have your dinner for the night when the sun's going down or is just down, and then give yourself 2 or 3 hours and go to sleep early. That's really what you should do. But that depends on where you live, time the sun sets, daylight savings. But that's a good rule to live by, man. Early dinner, early sleep, and drink lots of water with your meal.
Yeah,
There you go. I don't give advice often. I fucking hate giving advice to people because it's so generic and it's not. It's yeah, just generic and lame. But there you go. Suck on that.
honestly, it's just guidelines. Like like again, like a lot of stuff is just like, hey, that's cool. I'll use that to try to get to some shit that'll work for me.
Well, some of them come in thinking they'll use that to get some bitches. They honestly do. They think that this information will power the bitches, and they're using
Oh,
withholding sex and what's the word, like the market availability, the scarcity. They're using scarcity of it to try to seem to be more. Get out of here, you fuckwit! You shouldn't be here for that. Get out.
well, I don't think they know how it works. So you can't trick people from. So well, one, you can technically trick people to go against your self-interest, but what you'd have to do is control the information and try to,
Always, yeah,
yeah. And it takes a large. You have to do that to a large scale. You can't do that at a
yeah.
small individual level. So it
And
doesn't
not
work
with
like
the
that.
internet and with social media too. That really,
Also, if you're a young dude and you want to get women, you need to increase your value. And if you can't do that, because that actually takes time, then you have to be aesthetically pleasing to them. And when you're young, you're not going to get a relationship. And if you do, she's just going to be cheating on you and all types of shit. But you can get plenty of sex. You probably get some STDs, might get accused of rape, get on child support. Because again, they don't need you in the way that you'd want them to. Instead,
yep,
they basically look at you and it's the same way. So what benefit they can get from you is what they'll use you for. So if one woman looks at you and says, "Yeah, he doesn't make that much, but he makes
he's got a
enough
big
that if
dick.
I, yeah, and he makes enough that if I put him on child support, I don't think he'll kill me. So I'll just do that."
Or all the other women, basically use him up while he's considered valuable to other women and desirable. I don't. When they no longer want, a lot of that's subconscious, not like actually intentional, but just taking that
Well, no,
value out of
one
greed.
that's another thing. A lot of guys don't stop. Don't give women all this fucking credit like they're just these masterminds. It's not what's going on. It's literally just how they feel. That's it. So it's not like
I'm
they're
a
just doing all these
woman.
master plans. Yeah, basically they sound like giant retards. And so it's not like they're doing all these master plans and shit. It's just how they feel. So they're just going off of instincts and hormones and shit. That's it.
Yep.
So
That's
yeah.
why that's why the advice most dangerous to the younger men. At that point, they're over a lot of the hormones as a menopause. Now it's like really malicious because there is no like desire or lust there anymore. It's the Wicked Witch of the West style shit. Stay the fuck away. That's why they call them cougars.
Which is that's so fucking disgusting. I've had old women. I don't know if they're flirting or being nice. I don't care. I'm just like, hey, can you leave me alone? Could you just stop whatever the fuck it is you're doing?
Yeah. Anywhere I go that I find gone out of her way to be in a place where there's men that are either very vulnerable, from alcohol and drugs, or there are just a lot of men around with moderate value. I wouldn't say high value, real high. Generally, anywhere near average people, they got their own fucking lifestyle that most of us will never know about, be part of, or be able to enjoy. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so yeah, they're places you can avoid when you're at those places with those types of women, bro. That's not good.
Well, that's why I don't like going to like gas stations and corner stores. Like I'll go get gas, but I don't like going inside a lot.
Oh, okay. You find a way to pay for it at the Bowser, eh?
Yeah, just pay for it at the pump.
At the pump, sorry, that's the American term, the pump.
Yeah, I don't know
Sorry.
what the hell word you said.
Bowser.
Oh,
As in like
what?
Donkey Kong or some shit. It's Mario. But
Mario.
yeah, they call them Bowsers in here and probably in Britain as well. It's probably a British term.
What? I don't get where that would come from.
I don't know, bro. I didn't invent the world. I just live in it, man. I'm not a thesaurus. I'm not authorized to be able to lecture people about words.
It's just, damn, that's weird. I don't know. All right, that kind of, I don't know why that affected me so much. What the fuck was wrong? What's wrong with me? I'm probably
Yeah,
just
now
tired.
that you're talking about it, it makes less and less sense to me too. So,
Is there a, well, see, I was gonna, no, there's no fucking Bowser's because that's not a real animal. Because Bowser doesn't spit gasoline, so I don't know. Dog? No, that has nothing to do with gas.
bow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay. Oh, I forgot to ask. We are live, aren't we? You, because
Yeah,
we're talking about things in certain context. Yeah, cool. Just, yeah.
yeah. I don't normally talk like this. I'll just, yeah, like,
I
hey,
know.
like, yeah. Also,
Well,
the crazy thing about this stuff is, hey, anybody else see what's the deal with airplane bathrooms? Am I right?
what's the deal with peanuts and stuff?
It's like, what the fuck? He made a whole career off that shit,
Oh, he's a legend.
right?
I love his blasé sort of approach to it all as well. It's like, yeah, he kind of doesn't. He's at a point where he doesn't care.
He doesn't
It's like,
have.
oh, that
He
joke.
doesn't have to.
That. What's the deal with my jokes not being funny?
Oh, I'm fucking rich. And I got fucking clout everywhere I go. That's what the fucking deal is. Loved by all America. That's what it is.
Yeah. Oh, I used to love me some Seinfeld. I'd sit down and watch that. It'd be on at 5 o'clock every afternoon on Fox, I believe. Well, you'd call it Fox. To us, it was Channel 10. We like to use numbers in Australia and America. Oh no, I'm cursed. Why am I? What the hell? Feral bite. Increased damage, decreased life, causes status effect. Why? What the hell? Yeah. America would be cool and shit if it'd just be great again.
Oh, they won't. They don't want that. Cause then how are they gonna enforce communism by starving us and freezing us to death?
Yeah, but I mean, check your privilege, bro. I mean, shit.
I'm
There's
African
no
American
follow-up.
trans woman. I don't think I have privilege.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I think go and get my license updated and say I identify as a woman.
Dude, because they're not changing. That's the thing that a lot of these right wing motherfuckers and all these, like, they're saying all this shit, and I'm like, dude, nothing's changing. They're not losing power. They're gaining power. Fucking, like, I don't know what the fuck these guys are talking about. They're like, oh, but I won't do that because of Prince. I'm like, hey, man, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but one, I like the ability not to get accused of some shit because some bitch wants some promotion or something. So that makes me feel really good. Also, two, who? All right, so when I go to pick up a weapon, all right, they see that. I go someplace, they say check my ID, they might see that. So fucking what? What are they gonna do? I don't know if you know this. No matter what's on your driver's license, it's illegal to assault somebody just because of who the fuck they are.
That's right.
So
And the worst thing about for them is that when this gets to the point where it's on paper for a judge to read before he presides over it, he just sees the word female, and it's like, ooh, yeah, not
well,
good, bro.
that's the point, because all this shit has to deal with the fucking laws. If the laws weren't as such, then none of this shit would be fucking necessary. It wouldn't even matter. But this is how the
And
laws are.
well, I laughed at some woman the other day on social media somewhere. I saw her, and she was talking about, I don't know if they've noticed, but there's more women than men, blah blah blah. And I felt like saying, well, wherever you got that statistic from, I guarantee you that a lot of that's from dudes who have just done it like yourself, just either for shits and giggles, or because there is some degree of protection that you may get out of it, or confusion to other people and you can laugh at them. But I guarantee you, wherever you got that information from, what as accurate as you think. Not quite as extreme and thing, because yeah, you're probably right, but it's more like 50%, 9%. Maybe like it's not going to be this 60 to 40, 70 to 30% ratio that you may well get from those statistics because it's going to be skewed.
Well, no, the
And
whole
you're a
point
prime
is
example.
one, women do outlive men. They live longer. There is more of them because they don't really go to prisons and shit like that. And even if they do, it's not a higher not a higher percentage than men is that are going there. So yeah, that's true. There are more. Women are the majority of voters, so they're like a huge voting bloc, and the government makes sure to pander to them, so they have huge political power. That's why the laws, they can try all they want to do try to distinguish against biological women and trans women. That's not going to do anything because once you start going against the whole egalitarianism and equality and shit, they're not going to have that.
Because, well, that suits their tax revenue, and it also suits like the entire generation of boomers that are invested in the stock market, because then they know that they've got a larger worker pool to work to, like make their companies and stocks an investment. So everybody's going to be on board. Like you say, there's too many people with too much to lose by not going down that avenue. So, yeah,
Well, yeah, that's the thing where women are asked out when they're all pissed off about the trans agenda because it's like, yeah, that's cool and all, but just because you're not benefiting, just because you're losing some benefit, doesn't mean everybody else is. It's like when they ask questions about like the oil industry and stuff like that. It's like it doesn't matter if you have a fucking alternative or any of that shit. The thing is, there's a lot of old money that's still in play that's not trying to let anything go. They're
oh,
not gonna
bro,
let you. Yeah.
where I live, just in the last probably 2 years, the plans to build, and they have been built or are being built as we speak. There has to be another 12 fucking gas stations, man. And this is the place that only probably had 8, maybe 10 to begin with. So, like, it's nearly doubled in the number of gas stations in my area, and this is unprecedented. There ain't no push for fucking electricity. You know why? Because what's going to happen is that once, like, when we get the energy crisis and they won't let us, use nuclear or whatever, all of a sudden people with electric cars are going to be fucking not being able to afford to drive their car. It's going to be dearer because it's an emerging tech and they're early adopters, so it's more expensive in general for that fact. And then there's going to be the greedy people that know that then these people are going to need electricity to charge them. So they'll put more. And the price of electricity here in Australia has probably doubled in 2 years, and it doubled 2 years before that, and so on and so on. So, like, from my perspective, it's, when I look around, it's like there is no indication whatsoever that we're moving away from the old doing things from the 20, not maybe the very, very late 20th century. There ain't going to be an electric car wave coming through. It's going to be a niche thing. And I
Yep.
guarantee you that it's going to take at least 30, 40 years before it begins to take effect.
Yeah.
At least. If it takes effect at all, it may fall on its ass.
So yeah, it's one of those things where
Anyway,
people need
yeah.
to, they need to, they need to realize that it don't work. It don't work like it don't work that way. Again, that's just that's just how it is. I mean, there's not really much to say about it. It makes sense. So of course, like older people with the power and influence and all that shit, they control how things go. It is what it is. And yeah, it'd be nice if we could have some stuff to make things better. The only thing that eventually will change things is when it becomes economical to do so. When essentially, as long as competition is allowed to strive and come up, then yeah. But as long as the government's big bloated ass is in the way, just fucking, I don't know. Is there another word? Jerry rigging, manipulating, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Nothing's gonna change. That's just how it is gonna be.
Yep. It's a rigged game. Oh, what is that?
Oh, I thought they looked like the gremlins. I
Fucking
guess it's
Karen. It's kind of if a gremlin like made love to a pig.
yeah, right. So they kind of look
Yeah.
like it a little bit, but then it's like
Oh,
a pig. So I guess it's a goblin.
yeah, hobgoblin or something. Jesus Christ! Look, man, look at the titties on it. It's actually got titties, and I don't know if they know how animals work.
Ew.
They don't have tits like mammals do, like us. Sorry, upright, standing mammals do. They have tits all the way down their stomach. They know how little works. Like the pups don't get in line to suck on two tits. They all want one tit to themselves.
Yep. I don't know. Maybe they just did that
Anyway,
for.
why am I? Yeah, why am I arguing logic with a fucking rando game?
I guess too. All right, it's like
Yeah,
11:30 at night, so this is like super
yeah.
fucking late for me. Like holy shit, this is like highly irresponsible, highly goddamn irresponsible. SFM. What the fuck's wrong with you, man? You're supposed
We
to be
made
getting,
some progress. We made some good progress.
supposed to be making, you're supposed to be going to sleep and then waking up and working out and high tea and all this shit. This probably tomorrow's gonna be a rest day because I've actually been
How
got a
you
little
going?
too.
Oh, I was going to ask you how you going with no fat, bro, because it's probably a little bit personal for you, man.
I don't practice that stupid shit. That doesn't even make any fucking sense.
Well, see, I'm at like 2 months, bro. I'm loving it.
I I don't honestly I don't care. It's never been a thing that even crossed my mind.
No, I just thought I'd happened to be in a situation where me, it was, I'm not really trying to. I just looked around and looked at the calendar and went, oh, fuck, man, it's been that long since I gave a fuck about it. You know what? I'm just going to keep going and see what happens.
Well, it's also part of being older. Like it's
Yeah,
really easy to not give a fuck about that. Like it's not it's insane how easy it is because you can distract yourself with all this different shit.
yep,
And when you're
that is
young
true.
and your sex drive is fucking trying to murder you, there's nothing you can really do. That's the only way you could like
Yeah,
in this environment. That's what you would classify it as. Like, oh, it's trying to do homicide. Holy shit, it's fucked up.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
that's how it
Well,
is.
yeah, well, yeah. I just thought I'd mention that, but yeah, do what you got to do. I don't think there's any hard sign one way or another, man, and I won't hold up any longer. I think you're about to close out, aren't you? Close up, close out.
Yep, just gonna head